States. We trace Apple's tasty history from Asia to New England and then westward as we celebrate America's 250th anniversary. That's Under the Radar with me, Callie Crossley, Sunday night at 6 here on 89.7 GBH and the GBH app.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News, what matters to you?
I'm Jim Browdy, head on BPR on GBH and NEPM, live from the library. We'll start the show with you. A bunch of affordability headlines caught our eye this week, from young people looking to leave Boston, to older people rooming together, to people of all ages pre-gaming before going out to bars. How are you squeaking by in Trump's economy? Give us a call or a text. Then GBH's Adam Reilly and Callie Crossley join us for our media analysis segment, Press Play, and live music with the organizers of Tunes on the Charles, a new festival celebrating traditional Irish music.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then in the second hour, our media maven Sue O'Connell on Lesbian Visibility Week and the Mike Vrabel Gate. Then it's the Globe's David Abel on his new short film, The Pedal Pusher, and inspired by an opus on the Atlantic, we'll close the show with you and restaurant bread. What's the warm, doughy, free finger food mean to you? Next on BPR Live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Kristen Wright. The White House says President Trump is extending a shipping waiver for 90 days. The waiver to the Jones Act allows more crude, fuel, and fertilizer to reach U.S. ports more quickly by opening up domestic shipping routes to foreign-flagged vessels. The Jones Act requires all goods traveling between U.S. ports to be moved only on American ships. AAA says regular gasoline is averaging $4.06 a gallon. The Trump administration has reportedly drafted options for pushing NATO allies, it feels, have not been sufficiently supportive of the war in Iran. Terry Schultz reports the exclusive Reuters report on the memo says one of the possibilities is trying to suspend Spain from the alliance.
Reuters says it's seen a confidential memo outlining ways the Trump administration could punish countries that in particular were not willing to let the U.S. use their military bases or airspace to conduct strikes on Iran. The memo reportedly suggests trying to suspend Spain from NATO over its blocking of access for the U.S. military in the Iran war. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez didn't give the idea much credit. We don't work on emails, he said. We're working on official documents and positions. Sánchez added that Spain always collaborates with allies in accordance with international law. President Trump warned several times about possible retaliation, saying he'll remember which countries didn't support the war. For NPR News, I'm Terry Schultz in Brussels.
The Justice Department is dropping its investigation into Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell and the agency's renovation of its Washington headquarters. President Trump has accused Powell of mismanaging the project. Cost overruns put costs into the billions. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro said on X the Inspector General will review project costs. The IG has reviewed it twice and found no wrongdoing. A soldier with the U.S. Army Special Forces who was involved in the January raid to capture Venezuela's president has been charged by the Justice Department. As NPR's Bobby Allen reports, prosecutors say the Army Master Sergeant profited on the prediction market from the operation in Caracas that resulted in the capture of Nicolas Maduro.
Prosecutors have unsealed an indictment against Gannon Ken Van Dyke, a U.S. Special Forces soldier who helped plan and carry out the arrest of Maduro. Under the username Burdensome Mix, Van Dyke allegedly placed $32,000 in bets on Polymarket that Maduro would soon be out of power. Those wagers netted him more than $400,000 in profit. Polymarket is an overseas, unregulated exchange where traders are anonymous and bet with cryptocurrency. But federal investigators worked with Polymarket to identify Van Dyke. He's the first person criminally charged in the U.S. over trades on prediction markets, which have seen massive growth in Trump's second term. Donald Trump Jr. is an investor and advisor to Polymarket. Bobby Allen, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Good morning. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Some 4,000 to 5,000 Republicans are expected to gather in Worcester tomorrow for the party's convention. GBH's Adam Reilly says they'll decide who makes the primary ballot this fall and who the GOP is endorsing for governor.
Former biotech executive Mike Minogue and former Baker administration members Mike Keneally and Brian Shortsleeve. To make the primary ballot, candidates need support from 15% of the party's delegates. To win the Republican endorsement, they need backing of 50% of the delegates plus one. Mass GOP Chair Amy Carnevale says more than 4,000 delegates have qualified to participate, the highest total on record. Adam Reilly, GBH News.
Overtime pay for police in Worcester has once again pushed dozens of Worcester employees into the top ranks of city earners for 2025. So says a newly released payroll report that shows just how total compensation continues to outpace base salaries. The Worcester Guardian reports a total of 92 city and school employees earned more than $200,000 last year, with 78 of them working in the police department. Overall, the municipal payroll reached just under $590 million, up 4% from 2024. At the top of the list is City Manager Eric Batista, who made $354,103 in total compensation, including more than $58,000 beyond his base salary. 48 degrees in Boston right now, 47 in Springfield. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Kauffman Foundation, providing access to opportunities that help people achieve financial stability, upward mobility, and economic prosperity regardless of race, gender, or geography. Kauffman.org.
You listen to BPR on GBH and NEPM. Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library. Thank you very much. And streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. On Tuesday, it's going to be a double header here at the library. Maura Healey, the governor, will be with us from 11 to noon. And Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, will be with us from noon to 1. And then on May 1st, we've got a special event. Ken Casey of the Dropkick Murphys. He's going to co-host the show with us. And he's booked a lot of the guests, including D.C. cop Michael Fanone, who was attacked on January 6th. Michael Patrick McDonald wrote the great memoir of growing up in South Boston, and a lot more. Good morning, Jim.
Hey there. You know, we rarely do shout-outs, and particularly at the top of the show, but we're going to make an exception today. One of the people Marjorie and I are both crazy about is Marianne Hughes.
Yes.
I used to work with her. I introduced her to Marjorie. They're fast friends. Marianne has had a bunch of kids, all wonderful, all talented, one of whom is Brendan Hughes.
That is right. And Brendan has done this incredible podcast about the Boston Catholic anti-war movement during Vietnam. A bunch of long-haired priests and these combat boot-wearing nuns who protected conscientious objectors. I'm going to play you a little sot from Divine Intervention about the nun with the 93 South big, huge gas tank there.
Sister Corita was a peace activist, a Roman Catholic nun, and a prolific abstract painter. In 1971, she was commissioned to brighten up this giant industrial behemoth of a gas tank that would block the view of the harbor for miles around. Like some Catholics, she strongly opposed the war in Vietnam. And she would later deny that she had secretly painted Ho Chi Minh's profile into the left side of the blue stripe as a protest.
So the reason we're bringing this up, they were on our show, is yesterday at 1 o'clock, Divine Intervention, Brendan and his colleagues were awarded a Peabody Award, which is the highest honor there is, and it is so well-deserved. We just wanted to make sure we didn't miss the opportunity to congratulate Marianne and Brendan and his staff and everybody working on this.
Well, Jim, I think it may be true that little Brendan got his start Xeroxing for you in your office downtown years ago.
I actually wasn't going to mention it, but since he did before he finished, Brendan, when he was like 9 years old, used to do Xeroxing for me in my office, and I wasn't going to say this either, but everybody I've spoken to in the last 24 hours has said were it not for that copying experience, the Peabody would never have happened.
Divine Intervention is a great podcast. I've listened to every single one of the episodes. They're fantastic.
Jamie just wrote me a note. So you're saying there's hope for me too? You never know.
That's right.
Congratulations to Brendan Hughes and Divine Intervention. Check it out. It is great. So we're opening the lines to talk to you about affordability. You all saw the news that young professionals ranked Boston highly in their list of places to live. This is yesterday. It's third after D.C. and Omaha. We have no idea why. But behind that glowy news is another truth. More than a quarter of people aged 20 to 30 are actively looking to leave the region, or at least Boston, citing affordability. Then there's the pair of leftist influencers riding the headline circuit today after saying in a New York Times podcast that we should all be stealing lemons from grocery store chains. Here you'll hear one of them. You'll hear a couple of them. Here they are.
It's neither very significant as a moral wrong, nor is it significant in any way as protest or direct action.
It's actually factored in. The lemons that you stole are factored into the bottom line, and they still end up having increased profit margins because they no longer have to pay the cashiers that they used to hire.
Whatever. So also in the news today, people well into their middle age, 40s and 50s, are getting roommates so they can afford housing. Another story in the Wall Street Journal, adults, not college kids, are pre-gaming. You know what that means, Marjorie?
Yeah, they're drinking in the closet before they leave home.
Pre-gaming in their apartments before going out to save money on drinks at the bar. So from stealing lemons or at Whole Foods, you know when you do self-checkout?
That's
One
right.
of our staff people admitted that when they
admitted
do
it.
organic, they do the regular price.
I was appalled.
Getting roommates, pre-gaming the bar. What are your affordability hacks to survive Trump's greatest economy in the history of humankind? At 877-301-8970. Almost everybody I know does have one of these things. Something they do. I mean, it could be as mundane, I didn't mention, as, maybe they're driving less. They're not doing that. I mean, that's not really a hack, but that's like a thing you are doing. But a lot of people have these strange behaviors. How'd you like to be 50 years old and all of a sudden getting a roommate so you can afford housing?
Well, it was the unfortunate person that was featured in this story had an 800 square foot
I
apartment,
know.
so they're really on top of each other. But I get exactly why they do it.
Of course.
I mean, a lot of my girlfriends and I, one of them, we talked about in our old age, men usually die before the women, you see. So when
Thank
the men
you.
are
I
all
appreciate
dead,
it. Thank
we'll all move in together, kind of like an elderly Golden Girls thing. We'll all live together and, save money, and we can help each other out in our decrepit old age, assuming we last that
40
long.
and 50 is not elderly. It's
No,
one thing
no.
if
I
you're
know
on your
that.
last legs and you're getting a roommate to survive your final years. You're 45 years old and you got to get a roommate. I'm not criticizing these people. I'm saying how sad it is.
But I think one of the things that is happening for older people, just anecdotally, is that a lot of people can't afford to downsize because they're not going to make enough money to their house. So they're sitting in these houses with 3 and 4 bedrooms. So the idea is you open up a Golden Girls kind of thing for your older years, and you all help each other climb up and out of the stairs and getting in and out of the shower and all that kind of stuff.
You know what's even more pathetic than that, though? Pre-gaming. Now, to me, the fun of drinking, I know a lot of people drink because they want to get drunk. Okay, that's in that category. The fun of drinking is being in a social setting with other people who are drinking too. So you drink at home as much as you can before you go out so that you order fewer drinks when you go to the bar or the restaurant?
Is to arrive at the bar with a heavy buzz on. Let's hope you're Ubering and lifting
you
to
order
the bar.
less.
So you spend less money. Well, this person talked about going to some concert where they were charging $20 for a can of black cherry White Claw. I mean, that's a lot of money. So you're going to go to the concert, which costs you a fortune to begin with. Then you're going to have 3 White Claws. That's going to be $60.
You know what's worse than pre-gaming? Did you read the story? There's post-gaming. So you're out at a bar, let's say. You want a drink, but you're not getting a drink because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
So you say, I'll wait till I go home after all the socializing is over to have a drink at a post-gaming event at my house. I mean, it's a real sad state of affairs. So we want to know if you have an affordability hack, if it's something you do that you hadn't done before, but you're doing because you're lucky enough to live, as Donald Trump calls it, in the single greatest economy in the history of the world. 877-301-8970 is the number.
As a New Year's Eve resolution last year, I vowed to take 5-minute showers, says a texter. I've been doing it ever since, and I've saved a lot of money on heat.
By the way, we've gotten texts. What's that?
My husband is driving me absolutely out of my mind, but neither one of us can afford to live separately, so we're just stuck, and we're sticking it out.
That's good. By the way, Zoe, our colleague, writes us a note. What's it called when you don't even go out at all? Asking for a friend. There's no pre. There's no post. Am I just gaming?
Yeah, just sit in the living room and drink.
Exactly.
Just solve the whole problem. I do have a friend for affordability reasons. I remember he couldn't afford to get divorced, so for about a year and a half, he lived in the basement of the house that he shared with his
father
wife.
and his second ex-wife, after my mother, who was his first ex-wife, lived in an illegal, no, it wasn't illegal, a very high-end rent-controlled apartment apartment on the Upper East Side of Manhattan for like 20 years together.
Well, it was
and
quite
they hated
lovely,
each other.
Yeah, it was quite a lovely apartment.
Well,
though,
it was
correct?
a really lovely apartment. 877-301-8870. Jordan in Somerville, you'd be first. Welcome to the show. Hi.
Hey, thanks so much. First off, love you guys.
Thanks.
Secondly, when it comes to purchasing things at the self-checkout, I'm totally guilty to just kind of stash a couple things to the side. But I do have to admit that when we're purchasing organic things, we're kind of setting in a vote. You know, like that organic lemon is my vote to say I'd rather purchase organic. But I guess that's kind of a side note.
Well, wait a second. Can we go back? Wait, Jordan, before you go ahead, I was talking about, and I've only done this by mistake. You intend to buy an organic product, and by mistake, in quotes, when you search for it, you do the non-organic, the regular one. You're saying you set some things aside, meaning don't pay for them at all. Is that where we are?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want you to gloss over it, Jordan. But, okay, so what else you got? Go ahead.
So also we call it bang bang for when we go on grocery shopping trips, because we'll get as much things as we can at Market Basket. As everyone knows, Market Basket is awesome with low prices. Then whatever we can't get, then we'll go to Whole Foods or another grocery store and call it bang bang.
Bang bang, I like that.
I like it. I do.
That was a good one, Jordan.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You be well.
Here's a texter. I'd be selling my sperm if I had any. $150 per donation. Another curse, though. I'm a woman. I can't do it.
By the way, do you hear there are commercials on the radio, like on regular stations in Boston? Sperm selling is huge.
It is huge. Well,
huge.
I think it's been huge for a while, though. College kids would sell a lot of sperm because they had young, and supposedly their sperm really was swimming faster than maybe.
So, John, how many children do you have? 120? 120. I think it's 121.
That's right.
Actually,
you can
know them all well.
All those college bills. You got to find a way to pay them. Emil from Marlborough says, I saved money by looking for discounted tickets to the Boston Public Library to listen to Boston Public Radio. We are free.
What is the name of that thing? We've done this on the show where you go to a restaurant, they have stuff left over, you go on the app, and you get a surprise. What's it called? Good to Go. Thank you, Jamie. There's this Good to Go thing. There's an app, I'm sure everybody here knows about it, where restaurants sign up. It's their leftover stuff, and they sell it at a discount. And I think, if I'm right, generally it's a surprise. You don't know exactly what you're going to get, but the price is dramatically down. That's not... They have an app, right? Too Good to Go is the name of the app. Thank you very much.
Look at this one.
What is it?
People are selling their plasma across Massachusetts to deal with rising prices. This is according to our news department here. I'm just trying to pay the bills, said Kenneth Younger from Austin on his way out of BioLife plasma services. Things are a little too pricey for a little too long. They've been getting worse. So that's what he's doing. He's selling his plasma. Well, I don't even know how you do that. How do you do that?
I think it's just do a blood thing, and then I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever.
Sperm might be easier, but maybe not.
Jamie
Denise
says you go to a germothermo event. Denise in the car. Sorry, Denise. Take it away. Hi.
No, that's okay. So the hat from, this would be from the 90s.
Yeah.
Because you're a little well endowed. You go and get nips. I don't know if kids do it anymore. You get the nips, you put it in the bra, you go anywhere, you get a Coca-Cola, you take it out, and there you go.
I got it.
I don't know if people can hear that.
Yeah.
She was saying this is specifically for the well-endowed.
Yes.
But other people have pockets. It's nips, a little bottle
nips
of liquor.
in your cleavage.
You just you hide them and you sneak them in and you. What was the name of that play? Thank you, Denise. We went to some play in previews.
Oh yeah, we brought our own cocktails.
You brought Negronis in a.
That's because it was
in a cold cream jar.
It was a rehearsal, so it wasn't a real. Yeah.
Why we didn't get that permission?
Jar.
We had the director on the following week. She said it was fine. What is she going to say after we did this thing? You put it in a cold cream jar, right?
No, I think I put it in a different kind of jar. I wouldn't want to put it in a cold cream jar.
Oh.
You might get some of the
But the
residue
nips
there.
thing, hasn't everybody done that? That's so much better than pre-gaming or post-gaming, isn't it? Sneaking
No,
something in?
I didn't think of it. I suppose that's what you can do is get the nips instead, and then you don't have to worry about drinking at home before you go out. Mary from Waltham, thank you for calling.
Hello, Mary.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Hello. You sound surprised. You called us. Go ahead.
Yes, because I'm not from Waltham. I'm from Hull.
Oh, well,
hi.
that's easy to confuse. Waltham and Hull, they sound so much alike. Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Mary from Hull, welcome.
That's okay. Well, being from Hull, we have to drive a lot.
We do.
It's a long
It's hard to
peninsula,
get to
so
Hull.
everywhere.
It's very hard to get to Hull.
Yes.
Very
It's at least 10 minutes to get anywhere.
Oh, that's hard.
So to save money, I've been reduced to always driving the family Prius, which is so uncomfortable. We always leave it unlocked, hoping someone will steal it. But it sips gas, and that is how I always defend it to my family.
Wow. Yeah, it is. But how do you deal with, this is not really our topic, but since you brought it up, Hull is far from everything. How's that psychologically for you?
Well, my husband takes the boat to Boston.
Oh,
so he loves it.
I bet. How about you? You don't like it at all?
No,
Maybe
I
just
love
change
it when
your
I'm
locks.
there.
Yeah.
We just try not to leave.
I try not to leave.
Run.
Leave the car
Yeah.
open. You really got it planned out there,
You
Mary.
do.
Thank you. That was an excellent call.
Listen
Mary
to
from
this.
Hull.
Listen to Mary from Worcester. I went to Stop and Shop to buy chicken noodle soup recently and pre-made chicken salad for boyfriend. The soup cost $5. The chicken salad cost $13. I scanned the soup twice and put the chicken salad in my bag.
Well, that's like thievery.
I told my boyfriend and he lectured me. I said, I paid Stop and Shop what the chicken salad is worth.
Now, do you have the container of fruit I brought in this morning? I just thought about it. I just wrote
Yes,
it out.
I
right.
do. It's
Hold
right
it
here.
up to the camera. Can you get a shot of this? Hold it up appropriately.
Yeah.
Keep turning.
This
What
is
does
Jim.
it say on the
says
front?
50% off. Jim goes to Whole Foods and
That is
buys all his
correct.
fruit 50% off.
I do.
And we're all very proud of him for taking that
Thank
initiative.
you. Thank you. Now, I want you to know, by the way, it's not violating. I'm not stealing anything.
No.
Marjorie is in agony because when I first told her about this, it's not all the fruit. It's the fruit that maybe, is getting a little bit older. How many 50% do they have at Whole Foods in Brookline?
Well, it's the Boston one. It's
Boston,
on
the Brookline border.
It's in
yeah.
Brighton, but they do not. I have not found any 50%.
That's painful, isn't
I've
it?
only found 20% off, so I
No.
have to drive to Cambridge, but I'm not going to do that because that would be a pain in the neck. And as someone who just texted and said they stopped drinking booze 2 years ago, now I get to spend the former money I spent on Chardonnay on my gasoline. Is America great again yet?
By the way, that's another thing that people do is instead of buying, as people who are wine drinkers, instead of going to, what's our friend's place called in Bond on Church Street in Harvard Square, is they'll buy that crap, from, $2 Buck Chuck or whatever that other horrible, undrinkable. Well, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. It's $3 Buck Chuck.
It's $3 Buck Chuck
Thank
now.
you. That was Zoe there.
Tragedy of inflation.
By the way, someone just wrote, I picked the wrong week to go drinking. Quit drinking. We could actually work that in almost any conversation. Jim in Boston, what's your affordability hack there? 1 second. Go, Jim.
How you doing, guys?
Great.
How you doing, folks?
Good.
I'm a bouncer in this fine city of Boston. And now that the nice weather is coming, I'm telling you, there's a lot of folks that are going to be coming out and drinking on the way to the bar. And I get it. You want to have a couple pops on the way to the bar. A couple quick tips. Don't drink in front of the bouncer when you're trying to drink at the bar. I'm not going to let you. First off, this one's really more for the younger kids because they don't really get it yet. And also, if you're going to do it, don't bring nips into the bar, man. We're here to make some money. I understand it's expensive out there. You can drink on the way into the bar. Just don't let me see you drinking right in front of me like a dummy.
So, Jim, have you seen people whipping out the nips in line? Do they actually do it like that?
Marjorie, it's constant that I have to stop people online. Listen, man, I can't let you into the bar. You're drinking in front of it. You have to go somewhere else now. And they don't understand. Folks that get a little bit older in age, you understand you bring a flask in like an adult. But these younger kids, they're drinking right in front of me. It's dumb.
Jim,
That was a
great
excellent call, Jim.
Well, people
Thank
are
you.
sending all sorts of strategies for what they do about getting more for the buck when they go drinking. Somebody texted before, said what he does when he's going out drinking, he doesn't eat much of anything all day long, so he gets the buzz on faster.
Oh, no, is that true?
Yeah, and listen to this. This is Matt from Rhode Island.
That is unbelievable.
Tip for drinking affordably. Drink on days when you donate blood to get a fast, long-lasting buzz.
So it's like
and
a twofer.
also help out your community. Make sure you drink after donating, not before.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess that's what you do. You go to the sperm bank, you donate the sperm for $150. Then you go to the plasma place, you get money for the plasma, and then you go out and have a wild time on a Friday night.
So it's a hell of a day from beginning to end. Do you know anybody that's ever donated sperm?
I don't think so. Do you?
Anybody here donated sperm in the library? Don't be embarrassed. It's an act of something. People are lying, obviously. No one's raising their hand. That's okay.
I'm surprised, actually, that you haven't done that, Jim.
I did donate.
There you are, an impressive specimen.
When we stopped talking, whatever. When I was in college.
No one asked you to donate sperm?
I'm moving to another.
Like a tremendous machine.
By the way, Secretariat sired like 3 million
horses. A lot
horses,
of sperm.
You know
there was a lot of sperm donated by Secretariat.
He didn't get paid a penny for that. He did it for the fun of it.
Terrible.
Just the fun of it. Come on down. Okay, Jane in what do you call it? Brookline. Hi, Jane. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm calling because my daughter, a 30-year-old single woman, told me about an app called Too Good to Go.
We mentioned that. Say it again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Too Good to Go.
Yeah. No, I meant explain what it is.
You can get on your phone.
Yeah.
Well, you go on the app and you can see different restaurants, grocery stores, gyms, like Whole Foods, where they're putting together these surprise bags of things that they want to get rid of, and they sell it for a nominal price. My daughters come home with these beautiful bags of flowers because they don't want to throw them out, and she may spend $5 for the bag of flowers or pastries.
Yeah.
Same thing. I went with her on to a Turkish store, a Turkish bakery near BU, and we walked in, and they had this bag that she bought for $4.99. But it also then gets more people into these stores.
Exactly.
Because we ended up buying more than what we were getting in the special surprise bag.
Can I tell you, you explained it 3,000 times better than I did. That was beautiful, and it's a fabulous app. And as you say, it's not just great for the individual, it's great for the restaurant because you get exposed to them where you might not be otherwise, and maybe you'll go back and patronize them. Thanks, Jane, and congratulations to your kid for creativity.
Here's Carol from East Providence. I buy a large iced coffee at Dunkin', black, no ice. Then when I get home, I pour out half, add my own milk and ice. Voila, 2 large iced coffees.
Well, that's a pretty good idea.
And then here's another texter, anonymous, of course. I do not feel any guilt getting an organic lemon for the price of a pesticide-infested one because Jeff Bezos is not paying taxes, and he really isn't paying any taxes, or not very much. So he does not need my extra 50 cents for a healthy lemon.
So here's an anonymous texter. Tell me if you would use this technique. Nips are too expensive. They are expensive. I mean, ounce for ounce. Huge bottle of bottom shelf vodka and refillable fake tampons in the pocketbook.
Oh, my God.
A lot of people laugh. They've done it, obviously. So a lot of guys have done it out here. Yeah.
Well, that's what women do. They got the fake tampons and the guys doing the sperm bank.
Sperm bank, right.
But do we have time for one more?
30 seconds.
Okay,
almost over.
Real
Tim and
quick
Nashua.
one, Tim. We're almost out of time.
30 seconds.
Hey, yes. So I just got my motorcycle back from the shop, just got maintained, and I'll be parking my SUV and using the motorcycle as soon as the weather warms up a little.
There you go. That's a big gas saver. Absolutely. Okay.
Hey, Tim, thank you. Appreciate it. Hey, by the way, talk about us connecting people. This is actually pretty great. Woody, the UPS driver, says, where in Hull does that woman park her Prius? I need a new car and can't afford one right now.
Yeah.
How great. It solves both people's problems.
You know, the used electric cars are a lot cheaper now than they used to be, too.
Yeah, how I know that?
What?
You said that on the air.
Oh, I said that?
Day,
well, I say it again so people want to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your calls and texts. We're moving on now. It's our time for Press Play, our media analysis segment with GBH's Callie Crossley and Adam Reilly. They are next. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. You listen to BPR and GBH and NEPM live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
The weekend is coming. with stories.
I always knew that I had a voice that could make a difference.
Gardening.
Prune for health and appearance, not to try and control size.
And DIY delights.
There are these companies, and they go viral because they'll spray something on the side of cedar, and it just brightens it up and makes it look beautiful. But it doesn't actually add to the durability.
That's how we do weekends on GBH 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Discovery Museum in Acton, inspiring learning through hands-on science, nature, and play. Celebrating and connecting with nature for Earth Week, April 18th through 26th. DiscoveryActon.org.
And Schneider Electric, providing energy technology and sustainability advisory services to help the Boston Athletic Association shape more sustainable events for athletes, fans, and the community. Learn more at se.com.
Welcome back to BPR and GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan and Jim Browdy. We're live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Next Tuesday, we're back at the library. First hour, Governor Healy will join us at the desk right here for an hour of taking your questions. Second hour, Mayor Wu will be at the library, back-to-back, taking your questions as well. And a week from today, May Day, May 1st, our co-host, second time we've ever done this, first time Keith Lockhart, second time Ken Casey next Friday, leader of the Dropkick Murphys. He'll co-host, and as we said, he's booking all the guests, and they are fabulous. Time now for our media analysis segment, Press Play. We joined this week at the library by GBH's Adam Reilly and Callie Crossley. Callie is host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley. You can catch that Sunday nights right here at 89.7 at 6 o'clock. And on the Culture Show's Week in Review every Friday live at the library. Adam is a political reporter at GBH. Used to write the great Don't Quote Me media column for the late, great Alternative Weekly, the Boston Phoenix. Great to see you both. Welcome. Hi.
Hey, you too. Hi. Well, every year there's this big party for a bunch of journalists and a bunch of politicians down at the White House. I'm going to ask, maybe Adam can explain what it is in a second. But are we playing the first Obama?
No.
The second one?
No,
the
we're
second
playing
one.
neither right now.
Oh, we're playing neither right now.
That's
okay.
correct.
Okay. All right, I got it backwards, Jim. Sorry.
It's okay.
First, we're going to have Adam Reilly explain to us what it is, and Cal, you can add whatever you want to.
What is the White House
Correspondents' Dinner?
Yeah, the White House Correspondents Association dinner, which is intended to fundraise for the White House Correspondents Association. So there's ostensibly
for scholarships.
Thank you. So there's ostensibly a good cause behind it, but what it becomes is members of the media, politicians who they cover, and then a whole lot of celebrities kind of descending on this event, at which I think a case can be made. A lot of cringeworthy things sometimes occur, cringeworthy comedy that isn't necessarily that funny. I would suggest excessive proximity between journalists who should have an adversarial relationship with power and the powerful people that they cover. It's always made me really uncomfortable as an event. It has this really cheesy nickname, Nerd Prom, which I find just incredibly grating. So I happen to think it's an event that we would not be poorer for if it ended up being canceled.
Now, the reason we're talking about it is because...
at least Callie wanted to ask it.
You're
all set. Okay.
I'll wait till you say something.
Yeah. I think it started very well here, actually, so far. As I was saying, we're talking about it because it's Saturday night. And we're talking about it because most presidents go. Donald Trump has never gone. He has gone for the first time. And
as president.
As
He's
president,
gone.
that's right. Well, actually, that's exactly right. Because in 2011, Donald Trump is in the audience. Barack Obama is the president of the United States. And this is the comment from Obama that a lot of reporters suggest is what caused Trump to decide to run for president. Obama is discussing Trump's credentials and breadth of experience. Here it is.
No, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
By the way, better comedian than all the comedians.
Yeah.
Obama's timing is incredible. So the big issue is Trump is showing up. A lot of veteran reporters are saying this is outrageous. He has spent his career savaging what you were there honoring. Either don't go, don't protest. What's your take on tomorrow night?
Well, I think it's important to have a couple of factual, contextual details. This is the first time, as we said, he's coming as president. He's been invited every year. Other presidents have come, and then they make fun of them in the context of supporting the First Amendment, okay? There's always a little tension between those being covered and think they should have better coverage, but no president prior to Trump has gone the distance the way he has in terms of investigating, denigrating, demeaning, humiliating, name it, all of those things, and pushing against the very tenets of First Amendment rights for reporters. So that's important to know. 250 veteran journalists have said this year, this is outrageous. We are not attending this because you can't stand next to a guy. You can't even make fun because the guy has already presented himself as somebody who is committed to going against the First Amendment. How does that even work? HuffPost in the past has gone. This is the first year they've said they're not going. I think it's the Times that never has gone.
They haven't gone in the last 10 years or something.
Because they just said this is too outrageous.
They cover it. Yeah. They cover it. They don't attend.
They don't attend. Here's what I think is just another example of how horrific this scenario is going to be. And by the way, there is some scuttlebutt about he's using the opportunity this time as a platform to denigrate further with a wider platform. The president of the White House Correspondents Association is Weijia Jiang, who is an outstanding reporter for CBS. In March of 2020, she asked a question about COVID deaths in Trump 1 White House. And he said, why are you asking me? Ask China. Looking at her, she's an Asian. So she pushed back in the White House correspondence space for the reporters and said, why are you targeting me, asking me specifically? Does it have any? I don't know. It was nasty. Are you kidding? How does that work?
So what do you think should happen?
I don't think they should have had it this year. I think they should have figured out. Now, there are some practical details. They probably paid for the hotel and all this other stuff. You got to figure that's a loss.
Well, they raised a lot of money for these scholarships.
I got that.
Too.
But there is a way to come up with a way to raise the scholarships and have an interesting event without this particular platform, I think. Now, I'm saying that they're probably going to lose. They would have lost a lot of money, but because this thing is planned, years in advance and blah blah blah. But this is, I don't know how.
Let me add one fact. I want to add one more fact to this thing. Is that the Daily Beast is reporting that not only, as you said, is Trump going to savage the reporters, but ordinarily, and the media in general, the president presents the most important awards. One of the awards is for the Wall Street Journal, and it's reporting on Trump. And the reporting that's cited is very negative. He would have been giving the award. The photography of the year that was being awarded is the infamous picture of Trump staring straight ahead like this in the Oval Office.
So oddly.
While that guy passed out right behind him
and everyone
is on
else
the floor.
Is running over to try to help.
And Trump has said, and the Daily Beast is reporting, he's going to savage the media and then leave the dinner. Go ahead.
I think it would be really great to see the WHCA take a stand and not invite President Trump. Have the dinner. Just don't invite him. Send a message to the public that he's a unique threat to civil liberties, First Amendment, media freedom. I mean, that, I think a lot of people would have that kind of reaction if they had the guts to take that sort of stand.
In light of the fact they've invited to end this, here's what I would like to see happen, since I assume they're going. Is they should go, they pay their money, they're going to get their scholarships, and when Trump stands up to speak, they should all, 1,000 plus of them, walk out of the room. And then when Trump leaves, let him come back and honor the journalists, mostly young journalists in many cases, who've done fabulous work.
I thought Oliver Darcy...
Saturday night, it's on television.
Oliver Darcy writes that a good Substack column media newsletter.
Yeah, it's great.
He said... This is akin to a fire department inviting arsonists to a gathering aimed at celebrating firefighting. I thought that really summed it up really well. A lot of Trump sycophants are going to be there, too. So they won't
Head of the FCC.
be walking out.
He's not going after the press. He's going there.
Pete
Brendan Carr.
Yeah, he won't be turning his back and walking out. But let's hope some people do.
You, in your litany of things that Trump has done to attack the press, Callie Crossley, you mentioned investigating the press. We read a story the other day that the FBI, under the infamous Kash Patel, has been investigating a New York Times reporter who wrote a piece about his girlfriend and all the extra security and benefits she gets on the taxpayers' dime. And they were investigating her because they said she was stalking the woman, even though she reached out to her. Well, you tell the story. What's your take on this?
So what she was doing, what the reporter was doing, was regular journalistic practice. In fact, listening to some of the steps, I think some in our company, Adam, might be surprised at the extra steps. So she began with calling her. Hey, want to talk to you about what's going on. I don't want to talk to you, she says. What's his name's girlfriend says. And so she says, all right, who would you suggest for me to talk to represent you? And she said, I'm not going to talk to you about that either. Okay, so she said, all right, well, I'll go on about my business, as I would, looking into this. Which at that point, the girlfriend then complains to Kash Patel, I'm being harassed, I'm being whatever, to the point that it leads to FBI agents going to the house to talk to her and say, maybe we need to investigate the process by which this reporter has approached doing the story, which of course ended up with all the details of having somebody follow her to her hairdresser.
Wasn't that incredible? A security detail at the hairdresser.
But let me add something. That's not totally 100% exactly what happened. She didn't want to talk to her on the record.
Yes.
She did talk to her off the record
correct.
and subsequently exchanged emails with the reporter. So it wasn't like there was not a give and take between the reporter and the subject.
We should mention that according to the reporting that's out there, the FBI actually wanted to prosecute her.
Oh, yeah.
And that the Department of Justice, to its credit, said, no, there's no there there.
They were looking for dirt.
We can't go ahead and do this. It's also worth noting that the FBI claims that these claims are not accurate, that there was no investigation of the reporter herself, that Kash Patel's girlfriend received this threatening email sent, or it was an email or a letter, message sent from Boston. In fact, they opened an investigation into that. In the course of doing that, started looking at the reporting. I don't know
a threatening email that referenced the story.
Yes. Whether that's credible or not, people can decide for themselves.
And also for people who listen to that story and say it's the New York Times, no harm, no foul, or whatever the hell it is, the trickle-down impact of this kind of corrupt, abusive behavior, almost every day when Trump or Hegseth do something horrible, some little MAGA hack in the middle of the country who's a small-time pol tries to do the same thing in their own community. And when they do that and they try to do the same tactic with a local prosecutor over a small-town reporter, they don't have the resources of the New York Times. They don't have the experience of a Times reporter. So the trickle-down impact of the stuff, even if there's no prosecution, at least in my estimation, is horrible. Absolutely horrible.
I think the other thing to point out is that some of these people are lining up, listening to what we would call advocacy reporting by people who are an avowed right-wing media. Okay, so they have no process, no journalistic process. They're there to serve the narrative of the president and all that he supports. So there's not going to be any kind of normal investigation or reporting. And so people are shocked, like, what do you mean? Why? How can this woman go ahead and look into these other things? That's not normal. That's not right. That should be prosecuted. Well, no, that actually is journalism, but that's not understood.
Yeah.
So that's a big problem.
You do not knock on people. You call people. You knock on their doors. I always love the story about a reporter of mine, a buddy from the Herald, Maggie Mulvihill.
I think it's public.
Maggie Mulvihill. I think she teaches at BU now.
She's great.
Paul Cellucci, who used to be the governor, wouldn't answer the phone about this, that, the other thing. She goes up to his house. She's knocking on the door.
In
Paul
Hudson.
Cellucci's in there in Hudson. He's cooking his spaghetti and his pasta dinner, and he got really ticked off that she bothered him. But she did. She knocked on his kitchen door and said, "Governor, I need to talk to you." It was great.
Hey, listen, I sat outside many a bathroom at a health conference. I used to be a health reporter, health producer for ABC News 2020, and the guy wouldn't talk to me. And I went to every bathroom and sent people in there. Is he in there? Go ask us if he's in there. And finally he came to me and said, stop harassing people trying to pee.
Since you told that story, I got to tell you about when Ethel Kennedy, the nephew that was on trial for murdering the teenage girl in Connecticut, I covered that trial. She was in the bathroom, and I went into the bathroom and waited till she came came out of the stall.
Well, at least you could go. I couldn't even go in where I wanted to go get my gun.
It was great. But she talked to me.
It
was what? I didn't go into the stall. But she did talk to me, so it was great. It was worth it.
Well, I got my guy, too.
We only have a couple minutes left. We've discussed news deserts more in the abstract than in this kind of concrete fashion. And we've all decried them. It's so horrible. There are no newspaper. We know how many local newspapers are closing every day. There's an incredible story in the Columbia Journalism Review that these data centers that even places like Republican-led New Hampshire don't want because of the environmental impact. I mean, people have seen the stories. What these companies are doing is moving data centers to places where they know they're essentially news deserts so that there won't be any coverage, so that the locals will not be inflamed and know all the details. Just a minute, each of you. This is brilliant and horrible all at the same time.
It is brilliant and horrible, and even in some of the stories that we read about this youngish reporter trying to get some details about what's going on, what they've often discovered is that a lot of the details of these agreements with the communities are like hush-hush and down low, and nobody knows, and they're shocked to find out. So the communities have no idea what's coming.
In a lot of these communities, there are younger startup organizations or people working as independent journalists, and I guess the upside is that, according to the story that we all read from, I believe, Columbia Journalism Review, that some of these people are seizing on this opportunity as a chance to do some really good, important work.
But the reason it's so important to me is we've always talked about news deserts in the context of, in the abstract, people don't get the information they need to live their lives.
Right.
That's amorphous. This is real, and you see what the dangers are.
Well, and very Machiavellian, as you said, to take this approach to citing.
We lost the tab in Brookline. We now have the Brookline News, which is online, but in that interim period, there was stuff, including building a new school 2 doors away from me. I didn't realize was even happening.
That Brookline thing, which we're doing an event for next month, is fabulous.
It is fabulous, the Brookline News. People should check it out who live in Brookline, or maybe even live here.
Good to see you
both.
Thank
you very much, both of you.
Take care of yourself.
We've been speaking with GBH's Callie Crossley and Adam Reilly for our media analysis press play. Thank you very much, both of you, for coming in. Callie, of course, is the host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, which you can catch Sunday nights here on 89.7 at 6, and on the Culture Show's Week in Review, which is right here at the library today at 2. Adam Reilly is a great political reporter at GBH and used to write the Don't Quote Me media column for the late Alt Weekly, the Boston Phoenix. Thank you again, both, for coming in. Coming up after this quick break, Live Music Friday with the team behind Tunes on the Charles, a festival celebrating the traditional Irish music scene. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. This is 89.7 GBH BPR on NEPM, live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, The Man in the Mirror. The new Michael Jackson biopic reflects the brilliance that made him the king of pop, but it sidesteps the child sexual abuse allegations that overshadowed his final years. Plus, the return of pastels, speedboats, and swagger. The 1980s cop saga Miami Vice will return with Michael B. Jordan and Austin Butler stepping into Crockett and Tubbs territory. We take on that and more in our Week in Review, today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Speakeasy Stage, presenting Swept Away. 4 New Bedford whalers must confront who they are and what they've done as they fight to survive a shipwreck. With music by the Avett Brothers. Now through May 23rd. SpeakeasyStage.com.
And White Flower Farm, a mail-order plant nursery in Connecticut, offering garden plants, growing supplies, and gifts for gardeners. More at whiteflowerfarm.com.
Welcome back to BPR, GBH, and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, stream at youtube.com/GBH News. Tuesday, again, a doubleheader. First hour right here. The governor will be with us from 11 to 12 to answer your questions. Maura Healey. Second hour right here as well. Mayor Wu will be here to answer your questions. And next Friday, a week from today, May Day, our co-hosts, for the second time we've ever done a third co-host, Ken Casey from the Dropkick Murphys will be our co-host, and he's booking the show, and the guests are great. Time now for Live Music Friday ahead of a new festival, Tunes on the Charles. It's 4 days of traditional Irish music and dance starting next week from Inman, where I live, to Porter to Davis Squares. The festival brings together artists from Ireland and some of Greater Boston's local players. More info on locations and tickets at crirish.org. In just a bit, we'll be joined by festival organizers Jackie O'Reily, who's right over there, and Sean Clohessy, who's right there. Hey, Sean, to talk about how this festival came to life. But first, let's start the way all good Irish celebrations do, with music. Welcome to you all.
Okay, we are going to be speaking in just a second with Jackie O'Reily and Sean Clohessy, organizer of Tunes on the Charles Festival. They're going to tell us all about it. But Jackie, since you're over here, put on that microphone and tell us about start with who did that wonderful dancing for us, that's Irish step dancing here.
Who was the dancer?
Yes, so that was
Move your mic up just about a half an inch. Perfect.
Malka Pomerantz. She's
Malka,
a student of mine. She was fantastic. Good job, Malka.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And Sean, tell us who's in the band.
So with us today we have John Coyne on bouzouki here. We have Seamus Noonan, who's the flute player, and myself on the fiddle. So
you're great.
Thank you.
And Sean, tell us about this festival.
So we're very excited and delighted to be here. It is a celebration of Irish music here in Boston. We have such a rich culture and rich kind of heritage of music here, and it was really kind of to try and celebrate and show everybody in Boston like what is here. It's definitely one of the most the premier place for Irish music in the US at the moment, I think. So we're really delighted to be able to bring everybody together and celebrate it.
You know, Jackie, you know what I love about beyond the fact that this session trail thing, which sounds spectacular to me, starts in my neighborhood. I'm guessing right around the Druid in Inman Square where I live. Explain, well, and there are workshops and there are concerts, I know, at the Somerville Theater. Start with the session trail. That's the thing that sounds great to me. What is that? You want to talk about that, Sean?
Yeah, sure. So I think and a lot of the festivals that we have in Ireland, they're kind of in small villages, little towns, and basically we have these music sessions that kind of happen throughout the town. And you kind of jump from one pub, one spot to another, different musicians, the same vibe, but just fill the place with music.
How do people who are not playing know where the music is at what time on a session trail?
So we are going to publish all of that information on the
Instagram,
on the website,
okay.
And also it'll be on our Instagram, so which is Tunes on the Charles. And we'll have all the musicians, local musicians, some folks invited out from Ireland, and folks will be able to find all of those sessions.
And does this end at the Burn in Davis Square? Is that where this is happening, or what's the end point?
So there's this kind of, it's basically running from Inman Square right through to Davis, and it's not really that there's an end point.
Keeps going.
It just kind of keeps going.
We're sort of like this show, by the way.
Exactly.
A lot of people think. Yeah.
And
no, but go ahead.
I know I was going to say, it's kind of, we're hoping there'll be a lot of spontaneity as well. So we have some set sessions and then the bars involved. So we have the Shebean, the Druid, McCarthy's, and the Burn. And all of those guys know to expect musicians all through the weekend. So we'll have those kind of set sessions, and then you never know, if you're in the pubs, there could be music happening at any time.
You know what's great? Before I know you're about to turn to Jackie. I ate dinner at the McCarthy's the other night, and I'm sitting having dinner, and at the next table, 3 musicians. It's a variation on the theme. Just start playing as they're sitting and eating cheeseburgers.
Exactly.
And speaking of that, by the way, Tommy McCarthy who owns that, and Baron and Bebop was kind enough to send the usual fabulous sandwiches. And potatoes and whatever.
So, Jackie, tell us about, you've been performing and teaching. Tell us about Irish step dancing in Boston. What's the scene?
Yeah, so Boston has a really unique Irish dance community. We have a breadth and variety of types of Irish dance. So when most people think of Irish dance, they think of step dancing, competitive step dancers. Arms by your side, wigs, high kicks.
Right. Well, the Catholics, we can't move too many body parts.
That's right. Gotta keep it easy.
That's right.
Yeah, there's so much more going on though. We have non-competitive step dance, so adults and kids doing step dance out in the community. We have something called Shanos dance, which is old style Irish dance. So that's
is that this?
A little bit of what Malco's doing, low to the ground, kind of like tap dancing.
Yeah.
You could think of it as an analog. We have social dancing, so sets where you're dancing in groups of 8. And all of this is for celebration of movement and being with other people. It's non-competitive. So we have a really rich scene in Boston, which is not the case in a lot of cities in the States.
How is that going to be integrated into these 4 days?
Yeah, hugely. That was one of the main things about the festival. We really wanted dance to be set inside of the music. So often dance is treated kind of on the outside. You're out on the edges at a dance hall that's out of town, or room isn't quite made for dancing. But in this festival, we have dancers spread all throughout the festival. We have dance workshops on Saturday morning. We've got a big Callie on Saturday night at the Masonic Hall in Cambridge, and that's open to everybody, beginners, people with experience alike.
Neat.
We're gonna, so
am I going to embarrass myself when I ask what that is, or should
a Callie? Oh no, not at all.
You.
So a Callie is a big dance. It's a big community dance. So there's going to be a band. There's going to be a big hall. There'll be a caller, so that's someone who's teaching and calling as we go. So it's going to be very inclusive. So everybody should come. And then Sunday we have a special event called "This Is Not a Dance Competition," and it's kind of upending the competition model for Irish dance. So we're going to get dancers of all ages, up to 80, 90, and young people, and they're going to dance whatever style of Irish dance they do. And then at the end, the winner is going to be chosen out of a hat. So it's going to be really fun. So we have a cash prize for the big winner there.
Sean, I was just going to say, Sean, you just mentioned, as Jackie did, that Irish dancing is big here, and Irish music is big here. So I wonder, our late colleague Brian O'Donovan, whom we all adore, we just had a beautiful tribute to him at the BSO. A lot of Irish step dancers actually, and a lot of great music. Is that part of it? That just the Brian's influence? And
absolutely. I mean, Brian was one of a kind. Absolutely, no doubt about it, and was so important for kind of Irish music in Boston. And I think, the Celtic sojourn and, everything that he was doing, it's kind of left a big hole.
I know, I miss it so much.
This morning.
Yeah.
And so part of that was really to kind of fill that to some extent. We have Aoife O'Donovan on the first night of the Drawing from the Well concerts that's coming, and she's going to perform. And so it's, Brian did so much for the music, and we'd like to kind of honor his legacy in lots of respects through this as well. In a lot of those places that Brian used to hang out in the Druid, we had many nights in the Druid and in the Burren, and yeah, absolutely.
So the only thing we haven't mentioned, what's going on at the Somerville Theatre?
So the Somerville Theatre, we have a collaboration with the Traditional Music Archive in Dublin. They do a lot of work with the folks out in Boston College, in Burns Library, and the archives there. And so we're putting on what we call a Drawing from the Well concert. It's something that they do in Dublin at the National Concert Hall there. They have a series that they've been doing over the last 10 years. And so they are coming, they're bringing a lot of the really top musicians in Ireland that have been in the archive, have explored it, along with some of the folks here in Boston as well. And we have 2 nights of phenomenal music. As Brian would say, the roots. Really very much of the music in that regard.
And by the way, my anxiety was about knowing where everything is. If you do go to crirish.org, it's got the schedule, it's got tickets, it's got the workshop listings, it's got everything you need to know about everything. Do you want to go back and join your colleagues while we're talking to Jack? You want to tell us what you're playing?
We are going to play a couple of reels. The first one is Rolling in the Ryegrass, and the second one is The Boys on the Hilltop.
Fabulous. Gently put those down.
And I assume CR stands for Charles River, charlesriverirish.org.
That's right.
charlesriverirish.org, so you can remember it really easily. You get all the information at charlesriverirish.org, charlesriverirish.org about this festival from April 30th to May 3rd.
Before they play, the reason you said non-competitive with such emphasis is that intimidates people. Is that why it is?
It's just that the dominant way that people experience Irish dance tends to be through the competitive form, and there's a lot more Irish dance going on that's very connected to the music, and that's what this festival is about.
Fabulous. KU4, take it away. Thank you so much. That's great.
We have been listening to and watching the dancing brought to us by Jackie O'Reily and Sean Clohessy, organizers of Tunes on the Charles River Festival, taking place all over the place, Cambridge, Somerville, Watertown, from April 30th to May 3rd. For more info, go to crirish.org, crirish.org. If you're trying to remember the letters, think of Charles River. crirish.org. We say goodbye to those of you listening on NEPM, but make sure to tune in to the Fabulous 413 at 3 this afternoon. We're going to keep going here in Boston. After this quick break, media maven Sue O'Connell is going to join us. I am Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. Listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
Support the news you trust by donating your car, truck, or other used vehicle to our vehicle donation program. You'll have more space in the driveway this spring, and you may earn a tax advantage. Learn more at gbh.org/vehicle donation.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Rogers Fish Company, founded by Roger Berkowitz. Their signature double clam chowder is available for purchase at all Market Basket locations. More at rogersfishcompany.com.
And the Boston Speaker Series announcing its upcoming season at Symphony Hall for 7 evenings, including Pete Buttigieg, former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, historian Doris Kearns Goodwin, and former U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns. BostonSpeakers.org.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio, hour number 2, 89.7 GBH, Jim Browdy and Marjorie Egan, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com. Thank you very much. At youtube.com/GBH News. Tuesday again, doubleheader. The governor will be with us for 11 to noon, and then the mayor from noon to 1 on May 1st. Ken Casey, the front man for the Dropkick Murphys, is going to be a co-host with us with a great show. That's May 1st here at the library. Hello again, Jim.
Hey, can I clarify something, too? When Marjorie was saying to CR stand for Charles River, the website, just so you're clear, is just CRIrish.org.
Well, you know why I said that, Jen?
No, you did the right thing.
Because if you're having difficulty remembering the letters, you could put something together with them, like Charles River, Charles Festival, Charles River.
Good point.
And then you might remember them if you're driving.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're joined out at the library by our favorite local woman, media maven Sue O'Connell. She's political and news influencer at NBC10 Boston, co-host of the podcast At Issue, the 2026 midterm elections. That drops every Monday wherever you listen to podcasts. Hello there, Sue.
Good day. Hello.
Good day to you.
Hello, everyone. Sue O'Connell.
So nice to see you.
So let's start with Jamel Bowie, who's a great column in the New York Times. You know, a lot of people talked about Orban over in Hungary. One of the things that really pushed the Hungarian voters over the top was the rampant corruption. Yeah. Jamel lists in a nice column the unbelievably rampant corruption that goes on with the Trump family, taking money from the United Arab Emirates, pardoning people that are going to make them money. They've netted $4 billion. $4 billion. And now they want to give money to the United Arab Emirates because, for their damage in the war, because the kids and the family have got business dealings with them. I mean, any particular corruption that stands out to you, Sue?
Well, I think there's just so much of it. I mean, we're not even understating or overstating it. It's impossible. And part of the challenge of this presidency, and this is the Steve Bannon flood the zone method, is there is so much stuff going on that it's almost impossible to focus on things that I think everyone would agree are bad. You know, I don't even get anymore when I highlight one of these deals that Eric has done, or Don Jr. has done, or Jared Kushner has done, or one of their buddies has done, and I don't get back anymore, well, what about the laptop, and what about, the Hunter Biden, and he looks like he was just getting small potatoes for his selling his adjacency to his dad. And we're so far from Billy Beer. I mean, remember Billy Carter?
Oh my God,
Jimmy Carter's brother Billy, and Bill Clinton's brother. Also grifting. I mean,
Roger.
We cannot control our families when they come to grifting off our success, which is why I don't talk to any of them. That's why.
Can I mention the two most current things? I mean, Margaret mentioned a big one. That Binance deal. They're making $80 million in interest alone annually from the World Financial, whatever the hell it's called, network. Here's what happened this week. One of the misfit sons, I don't know which one.
I think it's
Eric has entered into a $24 million contract about robots. That's fine, except who's he entered the contract with? The Pentagon of the United States of America. That's one.
I'm sure he was the low bidder, Jim.
Two.
And also, just point out, it's not like he's had experience in this in the back, right?
No.
It's one thing if, he went to MIT and he was inventing robots.
And did you mention the fawning interview by Maria?
We didn't even get to that yet.
Bartiromo on Fox over this?
Number two.
Like it's fine?
Trump sues the IRS, which is also part of the federal government, for $10 billion for leaking his tax records to the New York Times.
And then what's he do?
Read they're involved in settlement negotiations.
So we're going to pay Trump. The government's going to pay Trump for settling for the. I mean, the beginning of his first term. You think about what? Do you remember he went out in front and he had a lawyer just before he started serving, and they had a whole stack of papers.
That's right.
Oh, sure.
And the lawyer said, we're going to keep this separate. He's going to keep all of his businesses separate. We don't know what happened to that lawyer. We don't know what happened to those papers, but we do know that all sorts of international folks were renting floors at the Trump Hotel and not staying there. The Bitcoin, the Trump meme coins. I mean, the sheer volume of grift that this family and this president is doing and they're doing it in ways that's hard for people to understand, right? When you talk about the meme coin that Trump released, I have to explain to people what a meme coin is, and they glaze right over, understandably, and he's making millions of dollars from it because who knows who's buying it from Saudi Arabia or Russia or somewhere else that's going to be able to say this is a way of money laundering funds directly to the president. Melania had a meme coin.
She had a meme coin.
The amount of money that this family
and she got
is making.
$40 million from Jeff Bezos, who has government contracts
for
that
documentary
film.
I said with finger quotes.
And while everybody's on pins and needles about how we're going to get out of this mess over in Iran, Jared Kushner is going over to negotiate with the Iranians again. And Jared Kushner, as we know, got $2 billion from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia wants this war to continue.
Yes.
They don't want any kind of settlement. They want it to continue.
And he's over there negotiating.
He's over there negotiating.
Leave
so
it right now.
It makes you really think, what are we doing?
And I think that it's important, and this is a lesson that I keep trying to impart about the Epstein files. We have to stop thinking about Democrats and Republicans. We have to think about grifters, right? Grifters exist, not to this degree, but in every area of parties, of societies. Abusers are the same way. We have to not allow our government to be used in this way to enrich someone's personal business. And the founders, I don't think, had any idea that somebody was going to go forward and do this.
By the way, this is what I hear a lot from people that are on Trump. They say, well, everybody did it.
Not
Actually,
to this degree.
They didn't. Well, nowhere near this degree. Jamel
Bowie
went through the history of grifting in the United States of America, and it was like, as you say, talk about small potatoes with Hunter Biden. We're talking about teeny tiny potatoes.
I had a huge fight with somebody
potatoes.
in a pool in Palm Springs who kept telling me that this was just like the railroad kings of the 1800s. And I'm like, to no degree that was bad. The way the
robber
railroad,
barons.
Robber barons.
Yeah.
But this is like to an exponential, degree and what they do. And Kara Swisher says this all the time. They accuse others of what they're doing. So you want to lose your head over Hunter Biden and a couple of million or here or there because he's related to Joe Biden. Oh, it's terrible and we should have done something. And then they take it to this most extraordinary level of grift. It's jaw-dropping.
Well, this guy, this founder of Binance, he was fined $4.3 billion, and he had these court-ordered fines and all this kind of stuff. And now apparently the U.S. government may have to give him back his
Trump pardoned him.
billion
dollars. Part of the deal was he gets the whole fine back.
The pardon.
Yeah, so you do something
this guy
wrong.
Was doing
the
big
government
time jail
reacts.
time.
Yeah, the pardoning. The pardons are a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, let's not have it.
It could go on and on and on.
Okay, can we talk? We have to. This is a mandatory thing because it's the biggest story in America, and I'm already sick of it. Vrabel.
Yeah.
So everybody, he's the coach as of the moment of the Patriots. Everybody knows he's denied it, and she denied it. They were having an affair with a reporter, which is the only reason it's anybody's business, is because she's a reporter. A top reporter was for The Athletic, which is part of the New York Times. She quit last week, still proclaiming nothing wrong happened, even though obviously it did, and probably ahead of being fired by the New York Times. Vrabel lies about it up front. I'm just trying to say it's a joke. Everybody knows the joke. And yesterday and the day before he speaks, and he speaks yesterday after more pictures come out on page 6 of the New York Post. 6 years ago, he's in a bar in the Village, in Greenwich Village, kissing whatever her name is, Diana Rossini. So what is the takeaway? I mean, I'm not one of those people who say it's a non-story, should never talk about it. It is a story. The journalistic ethics part of it is a big deal. Working for an organization that has had at least a number of these kinds of incidents, not one, but a number.
You're talking about the Patriots.
But I have to say, I don't quite get why it's got as much life. It's not just huge here; it's huge all across the country.
No, part of it is everyone hates the Patriots, right? So anytime there's an opportunity to knock the Patriots, people want to do it. I'm of the mind about sports that they're businesses. I'm not like you. I don't like it all crazy. Like, oh, the Patriots are my team.
No, I agree.
They are businesses. They bring a lot of money into our economy. We spend a lot of our tax dollars building roads and bridges and giving them tax-exempt status for their stadiums. So we have a vested interest in this as a major revenue driver for the region. Of course, it speaks to sexism because, as I said on the show a couple of weeks ago, there are many male sports reporters who have not sexually intimate or emotionally intimate relationships with the people they cover, but some of them are the godfathers of the kids. Some of them go to the weddings. A lot of them go on vacation together. So take out the tawdry sort of affair part of it. The sports world is filled, as Adam and Callie were talking earlier about the Washington dinner coming up on Saturday. Sometimes and oftentimes those lines get blurred in politics and in sports and in entertainment. So the fact that she's getting all the heat on this, I think, reeks a bit of sexism as well. Oh. And there's a whole universe of men who don't want women on the sidelines and don't want women reporting sports, especially male sports like football. So they are banging this drum and just making it as huge a deal as they can, acknowledging an ethics issue was crossed for journalism. I think he crossed a line aside from whatever happened regarding his relationship with a journalist. And again, everyone hates the Patriots, and it's all about Inflategate and stealing signals.
And may I just say, Mr. Browdy, I love
Mr.
you,
Browdy.
But when you say it's nobody's business, this drives me crazy.
No. Excuse me. I didn't say it's nobody's
their
business.
relationship.
I'm talking about their relationship. If it didn't affect her work, and no.
But hold on. The double standard
The point I'm trying to make is if they were just having an affair, and she wasn't an NFL reporter for the New York Times.
Okay.
None of our business.
Then it's not our business.
But the point I'm trying to make is it becomes people's business, and the woman is the one who takes the fall.
I totally agree with you.
Especially if she's a mother, which I don't think this woman is.
She is.
But her career is over, her reputation is over, and the men just go on doing whatever they're doing. So that's why it's my business, because of the double standard, which continues.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can we move on to a happier thing? Happy Lesbian Visibility Week.
Boy, I wish I had known.
What is lesbian?
I didn't know.
Really?
I found out. Yeah, Jamie told me this morning. Jamie and they told me.
I
did not know. I didn't get nominated for anything, so I don't know about it.
What is it, really?
She's a visible lesbian.
Yeah,
she's here.
It's a week. And it's closing, I guess, right now. There used to be Lesbian Visibility Day.
Wait, do you really not know?
I honestly had no idea. Listen, I look in the mirror every morning and I say, I'm a lesbian, and I see myself, and that's the visibility that I get.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's an event. It's sponsored by Curve, and it's the Lesbian Visibility of North America. They had some events in Provincetown. It's health and well-being was the theme. There was some sound baths and massages.
It sort of takes away the impact of Lesbian Visibility Week when you have to read about it from your phone.
Okay.
You know?
There's but the softball, lesbian line dancing.
Oh, softball.
The
I
show.
love softball.
titled Dykes and Their Dogs. I love that one.
go.
That was a really good one. The Sirens Women's
Maud
Motorcycle
still alive?
Club.
Who?
The
Maud,
dog.
yeah, Maud's still alive.
Okay,
yes, I
fine.
could have brought Maud.
Yeah.
There were
So the-
events in Provincetown. It is,
Okay.
it is a week that women generally. It is Women's Week. I didn't know it was Women's Visibility Week. So
You
there
forgot
you
Queerioke.
go. Queerioke, I love.
Don't you love that?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah. So this all looks really appealing. So there you go. I'm sorry
All
I
right.
missed it. I
Okay.
didn't get any flowers. I didn't get a card. I didn't get a
Oh,
nomination.
Sue. I'm
There you
sorry.
go.
Okay, let's move on to something you do. You're excellent at math, from what I've told. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
no, not at all.
Fabulous. That's good. So we have heard Donald Trump say repeatedly that he's going to lower the cost of prescription drugs as much as 600%. And Marjorie, you'd admit you're not a fabulous
I
mathematician.
am not. You are, though.
I am. But
Of course.
Even Marjorie knew that you can't lower something more than 100%. But because if you work for Donald Trump and you haven't been fired yet, you have to be as sycophantic as is humanly possible. So first, Little Kennedy testifies in front of a Senate committee trying to explain how you can lower prices 600%. And here he is at an event Thursday announcing a deal with some drug maker to lower the cost of pharmaceutical products, defending Trump's math of how you can lower them. And then after we play this, you'll explain it to us. Go ahead, RFK. Go ahead, Junior.
And I said, well, if the drug was $100 and it raised the price to $600, that would be a 600% rise.
Correct.
Well, if it drops from 600 to 100, that's a 600% savings.
That's right, Trump says.
And the president used that mathematical device to illustrate the magnitude of the theft that has been happening against our country and our people.
Okay, two morons. Can you explain this
So I
to
will,
us,
because I
please?
actually worked for someone in the sales department once who will go
You did?
unnamed. Yes, when
Who
I was a
was it?
sales manager, will go unnamed. And they were working on the rate card. And advertising agencies get a 15% discount from a rate card. You may not know that. That's how the advertising agencies get their cut.
Yeah.
And when you raise something 15% from a whole number, it's one thing. And when you lower it from a number, it's a different thing. And they had worked for 20 years not understanding. And I went to Revere Public Schools. I am not a great math person. That the 15% increase is not the same on the number from there to a 15%. So I think that Trump in real estate, this is a real estate answer. If you, we're going to give you a discount, and then we're going to give you that. We're going to charge this, but we're not going to charge that. So since we're not going to charge that, that's the discount you got. So it's real estate Donald Trump math. And look, RFK, the worm issue in the brain, we really have to, the whole animal interactions he's had, God knows what diseases he has. The cocaine on the back of the toilets, which I'm not against, but nonetheless, I don't think our health guy should. The toilet seat, yeah. So he's got issues. So the fact that he was able to speak that long, I think we should salute him.
Can I ask you a serious question? I was having this discussion with Mike, who's one of the wonderful lead door guys this morning at the Lennox.
Yeah, I know Mike.
Every one of these cabinet people, I think everyone, was either powerful or rich or both before they signed on for whatever reason and became total sycophants. This is going to sound so naive. How do they talk to their kids when they go home after doing something like this, or sitting in a cabinet room and saying, oh, it's my turn, you're the greatest president who's ever lived, the most important for agriculture in the history of agriculture?
So Jim, I sent this a little while ago, and I don't want to fetish shame anyone. Whatever you do in your own, consenting adults is fine. They're all very bad submissives. Right? And I am absolutely sure that in another world they would be hiring a dominatrix to do this to them, and then it would be their own business, but they have hired basically Donald Trump to make them feel bad about their success so that they can get some kind of self-esteem boost out of it. So I think it's kind of a dom and sub relationship.
Daddy Don.
Daddy Don. They're wearing shoes that don't fit. He's making them prance around. He's sending them everywhere. He's demeaning them. And then
by the way, that is true. Did everybody see the story where he bought Marco Rubio
the shoes?
He bought them all shoes.
4 sizes
and
too
they
big.
didn't fit, and he had to wear them, even though there was this much room.
You could see it in the back.
But you know, Howard Lutnick, who just got caught lying in the Epstein thing, saying he was so disgusted he could never have anything to do with Epstein again. And it turns out he took his whole wife and family and then never be down
to the island.
The island. he was talking about how he sold 1,000 of the Donald Trump gold visas.
Yep.
But then when he was under oath, where he might get in trouble for perjury, he admitted that indeed he hadn't sold
How many
1,000.
sell?
One.
I
mean, look at
got
there's a
their
whole
lie,
class
and
of
nobody
people.
cares.
This is the part. Like, let's stop talking about Democrats and Republicans and look at the top, like 3% of the world. For many of these people, not all of them, obviously, they lie all the time.
Yeah.
They make stuff up. I mean, when we purchased Bay Windows and South End News, we had a consultant who came in, and I had been working there. It was in distress. We purchased it, and the first thing he said to me was, cancel all the contracts, don't pay the people you owe money to, and just start from scratch and tell them this is how it is. And I'm like, I've been running this paper on my reputation for a year. I'm not going to tell the freelancers they're going to, settle on what we have. He goes, well, how are you going to be a success in business if you can't do that? And that's just at a small community newspaper. This is what we're dealing with. No one is going to, they don't mind exaggerating, making up math, making up numbers. And this is why we're in a situation that we're in. I mean, I don't want to sound like a socialist because I'm not against capitalism, but they have run amok, and we have to do something about it. I don't know what.
Regulated capitalism. That's
No, we
my
found
mantra.
out what we
I've
do
said
about
that
it.
about 1,000,000 times.
Top of the show, you steal lemons from Whole
Yeah,
Foods
there you go.
Market or whatever the hell
There you
it
go.
was that guy
Yeah,
was
that's
suggesting.
Hassan Piker. That's
Right.
his podcast guy. He's got a good podcast, actually.
Well, be careful there, Marjorie.
With Hassan Piker?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Okay, time's running out. Can you?
Wow.
This
Should I
thing of
Google
yours-
something really
you
quick?
should.
Okay.
This midterm thing. Do you have any, before you leave,
Yeah.
do you have any particular insight about the midterms that hasn't been said by every single analyst in America?
Well, we did our most.
I don't mean on your thing.
No,
I mean
no, but I
now.
think the Maine primary is going to be really
Senate
very
primary.
informative for the rest of the party. Right?
Plattner and Mills. the
Plattner and
governor
Mills.
and Plattner.
You've got Warren endorsing Plattner, who has a controversial past, has said things even recently which are insulting and demeaning, and then you've got Mills, who in a regular world you would think she would be a great candidate for Senate. She's the one that stood up to Trump and said, "I'll see you in court in the White House," and regardless of who wins that race, and at this point, Plattner is ahead by almost 30 points, I think. Will the rest of and it's I think a ranked choice vote primary. There's a couple of other candidates in the race. Will the Democrats support him in the race against Susan Collins, who everyone always says, this is her last year, this is the last term, but she brings things back to Maine, and she wins Democratic votes every single election. So I think there's a lot to learn here during this, because their primary's in June. It's not in the fall. So I think it's going to be really informative for the rest of the parties.
So have people forgiven his multiple sins so far because he's a charismatic candidate, and a progressive, which a lot of people think is the direction the Democratic Party is going, or
Also
because Trump
a
has made
combat vet.
or because that's true, because Trump has normalized bad behavior.
Well, it's probably all of that, but I also think they can win. That he can win, and he
Okay.
can beat Collins, and I think that's part of it. And every party has this problem. They want younger, newer, fresher
Mills is
voices.
almost 80 years old
and
to
she's
be a
almost
freshman
80 years
senator
old,
is
right?
an
So
issue.
it's the challenge there. But I think that the Democrats are awakening this spring, and I think this is a race to really watch to see what lessons that they can learn from what they can do in other primaries.
And when does this thing, Mondays you drop?
Yeah, we drop on Mondays.
That's great.
Me and Matt Pritchard.
Nice to see you, Sue
Good to see
O'Connell.
you guys,
Thank you
too.
so much.
We're very glad to welcome you on Lesbian Visibility Week, even though you knew nothing about it.
Nothing.
You've been speaking with our media maven, Sue O'Connell, political and news influencer at NBC10 Boston and co-host of the podcast At Issue, the 2026 midterm elections, which, as Sue just said, drops every Monday wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you, Sue. Coming up after this quick break, the story of one family's long-standing flower business at Penn Station. This is a great one. I was practically in tears. How updates to the station threatened to push them out. And we're going to talk with the Globe's David Abel, who made this film. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browdy. Listen to BPR 89.7 GBH live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, we are live at the Boston Public Library. When your favorite pair of pants start to look a little shabby, maybe a little too loved, you don't have to throw them away. At-home mending is easier than you think. At least that's what today's guest has promised. Tune in to see if I accidentally sew my fingers shut. That's the Curiosity Desk today at 1 on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And M&M Skylights, located in Stoneham, installing and servicing the full range of Velux skylights that can help bring air and more natural light into homes. Skylight consultations can be scheduled at mmskylights.com. And Newport Mansions, presenting Full Circle, Richard Fleischner with David Smith, Christo, Klaus Oldenburg, Barnett Newman, and other Monumenta artists. On view now through May 3rd at Rosecliff. NewportMansions.org.
Welcome back to BPR on 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Tuesday of next week, we have both the governor and then the mayor of Boston. And Friday, our co-host will be the leader of the Dropkick Murphys, Ken Casey. Our next guest is a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter who's covered war, unrest, national security, terrorism, including the marathon bombings. He's made spectacular movies. One about a lobsterman who is at least swallowed for a few minutes by a humpback whale. It's called In the Whale, real story out of Provincetown. And one about Boston's seaport succumbing to sea level rise called Inundation District. His latest short film is about something closer to heart, a beautiful story about a flower shop inside Penn Station that just so happens to be run by his own family.
The challenges of working a business in Penn Station are immense. It's so dark, you think it's night all the time. The dreariness is amazing. The air is phenomenal. I can't even take a deep breath.
That, by the way, is the filmmaker's mother. David Abel, the son, joins us now on Zoom to talk about The Pedal Pusher, it's called, which premieres in Boston this weekend at the Independent Film Festival. Check it out at pedalpusherfilm.com. David's a professor of journalism at BU and a contributing reporter at The Globe. David, congratulations. It's fabulous. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was a tearjerker. I was like weeping, but it was a really great job. So just elaborate on what Jim talked about. Talked about The Pedal Pusher and about your parents' longtime business there with the rats and the roaches and the buskers and the dirty air in Penn Station.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's great to be back on the air with you guys. And Jim, just referencing something you said yesterday, if you need a Pepsi, you wouldn't have to ask me twice.
So if you didn't hear yesterday, check it out. Go ahead.
This was a very different kind of film than I've ever made before. I've usually made environmental films, and this was a very personal film, one that I shot almost 10 years ago, actually. And after the last two films that you mentioned, Jim, I started to think about what was next, and I started to look back at this footage that I shot. And at first I thought, well, why would anyone care about this story? It's such a personal family story. But the more that I took a look at it, the more that I thought that there was something worth sharing with a wider audience. And in short, this is, as you said, a film about love, loss, and family. And it's a film about this really intense, crazy place, the largest train station in North America. There are hundreds of thousands of people that pass through there every day. And I had this really bizarre experience growing up selling flowers on holidays like Valentine's Day, where it was really nuts. I mean, we would have so many people in such a rush. It was such an adrenaline rush for us, and ultimately it was a means of bringing my family together. And then when about a decade ago, when Penn Station was about to undergo all of these renovations, they essentially told us that we would have to shut down part of the business, and if we were to keep it and some places, then they were going to jack up the rents, and essentially the only kinds of places that could really survive in this train station were chains. And my family's shop there, called the Pedal Pusher, which is the title of the film, was one of the last and longest operating small businesses there. There are some other small businesses still there, but
almost 50 years, David. Yes.
Almost 50 years. Yeah.
You know what's first of all, it's a beautiful story. I mean, a piece of it is a lot of it's about your mother, who's incredible. Not enough of your father, I know, passed away, but you have a beautiful interview with him. The workers and their loyalty to your family and your family's loyalty to them is beautiful. But the other thing, as someone who spent a lot of time in the old Penn Station, you capture the culture, as Marjorie said, from the rat popping up its head to the guy sipping beer through a straw, which I don't think happens anywhere except in New York. Exactly. We're going to play, when we say goodbye to you in a minute, Sammy C. Davis, who's this busker. How long has he been singing in Penn Station, David?
I know him since I'm a kid, and when we had the premiere, as it happens, when I started to look back at this footage, I realized some of the footage I shot wasn't that great, and I wanted to see if he was still around. And so a year ago, as we started to put this film together, I actually was able to find him, and I met him at Penn Station, and I was able to refilm some of the songs that he would sing, and he's still at it. He's still going. He's in his 80s, and he was doing it as long as I can remember. And a lot of those guys were as much a part of my family in some ways, or like the soundtrack of my youth.
Great.
Well, Jim mentioned your family's loyalty to the workers, and some of these guys that had arranged the flowers and watered the flowers have been there, they said 20 years and 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so obviously your family was able to make a halfway decent living selling flowers in Penn Station in the dark and the dreariness. I mean, it was an incredible tale.
And that was, to me, the most heartbreaking thing when we had to actually break the news to the guys that we were shutting down. It was really, really sad, because I knew these guys since I was a kid, and they very much were part of my family. And we had the premiere of the film at Doc NYC a few months ago, and it was so great because we were able to get all of these guys back together for the first time, and I got to show my mom the film for the first time and sat next to her, and I should say my mom, if anyone watches this film, is a character and a force of nature in her own right. And one of the hardest parts of making this film was interviewing my mother and trying not to repeatedly cut her off, or things that I wouldn't ordinarily do. But it was definitely distracting to try to.
Should I have me interview her? I could cut her off. I have
I'll bring you along next time.
2 quick questions for you before you go. One, I don't know if I love shorts. I really, it's 16, 15 minutes long. Is there a market for shorts in America? They are fabulous, particularly for those of us with short attention spans, but regardless, do people go to see shorts?
I think they do. I mean, it's a different sort of beast on some levels, but I think when you go to a film festival, I think that the short blocks are often the most well attended, and that's what when I go to film festivals. Me too. I love to go to the short blocks because you get a beginning, middle, and end in a really brief moment, and it's hard because you have to really figure out what is essential and how to tell a story in such a short period.
David, before you go, if people are not going to be at the Independent Film Festival...
And where is it?
Yeah, well, that's one. But 2, how do they see Pedal Pusher?
So we will hopefully have additional screenings in the coming months at film festivals. We're mainly showing it at film festivals. On May 12th, we are showing it at the New Bedford Whaling Museum.
Oh, great.
And... I have a special place in my heart for the Whaling Museum, given my previous films, and we hope to continue to show it at other festivals.
But if people go to Pedal Pusher Film, Yep. They'll get whatever scheduling information.
Yeah, and where this weekend?
Exactly.
Where in Boston this weekend is this going to take place?
So this weekend at the Independent Film Festival of Boston, it'll be showing at the Somerville Theater at 12:15 in the afternoon, and then at, I think, 5 p.m. on Monday.
Great.
And it'll be playing with a series of short films.
Well, it
Another
was,
great one, David.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely a great. I feel
Thanks.
bad because I think Moynihan's train station, you know, the rehab is really nice, but I didn't realize what that meant in terms of a place like your parents' flower shop. So, thank you very much for
Tell your mother
memorializing.
she's great, too.
Yeah, we
She
loved
is
it.
really
It is great. Thank you,
Take care,
David.
David. Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
so much. Appreciate it.
We've been speaking with David Abel, the filmmaker behind The Pedal Pusher, which premieres in Boston this weekend at the Independent Film Festival, as David just said, in Somerville. And you can get all the information at pedalpusherfilm.com. David is a professor of journalism at BU and a contributing reporter for the Boston Globe. Coming up after this quick break, with all respect to our friend David Abel and his ode to the family's flower shop, screw a bouquet of flowers. That's what Jim said. We're all about the restaurant bread basket here. Give us a call, 877-301-8970. Have you noticed that you don't always get free bread when you go out to dinner anymore? And how upsetting is that? And when you do have bread, where do you think the best bread is around? Free or even if you have to pay for it? 877-301-8970. Why do we care so much about bread? I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR 89.7 GBH, live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
This week on Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, how did apples, a fruit not native to North America, end up becoming a symbol of the United States? We trace apples' tasty history from Asia to New England and then westward as we celebrate America's 250th anniversary. That's Under the Radar with me, Callie Crossley, Sunday night at 6 here on 89.7 GBH and the GBH app.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And the Episcopal Diocese of Massachusetts, presenting an evening of poetry and conversation with Irish poet Padraig Tuma and Bishop Julia Whitworth, April 29th at 5:30 at Christ Episcopal Church in Cambridge, diomass.org. And the Massachusetts Teachers Association, working together to ensure that all students have the resources they need to succeed. The MTA, over 180 years of commitment to the public schools and colleges our communities deserve. massteacher.org.
Welcome back to Boston Public Radio. Jim Browder and Marjorie Egan. We're streaming live at the library at whatever it is. What are we at? We are at youtube.com/GBH News. Sorry, we're running short on time. Mayor and the Governor on Tuesday, Ken Casey on Friday. Ending the week inspired by a piece of incredible journalism in The Atlantic, an endless front-page opus titled, I Found It, the Best Free Restaurant Bread in America. It's by Katie Weaver. I loved it. Gluten-free listeners, now might be the time to furiously text how you're not included, because we're spending the rest of the show dedicated to the humble restaurant bread basket. Surprisingly to no one, I have a very strong opinion about this. I'll explain it in a minute. Well, I'll explain it right now. Is that free bread, I like any kind of bread at a restaurant, but free bread in particular sets the vibe and tells you a lot about the restaurant. Having to pay for it, even if it's great, it's really annoying. Changes the whole experience. So we have two questions for you. One, what is your favorite bread at any restaurant in the region that you can share with people? And two, does the free bread experience, which is really going by, I should say, change everything for you as it does for me? The number is 877-301-8897.
Okay, the first two texts, you know where they mention?
Where?
Legal seafoods. And that is
Great
so
rolls.
true. Hot, they're often hot when they get to the table, and they get that salty butter. Simple and unbeatable, says a texter, and you don't have to pay for them. They put them on your on the table really early on, so when you're deciding what to eat, you know, you're looking through the menu, you can eat the rolls.
They're better when Roger Berkowitz owned Legal Seafood. But having said that, two great free places, by the way, of many. One of my favorite restaurants, I know you like it a lot too, Eastern Standard, has fabulous in-house made sourdough
That's a
that
big
they
deal.
put on the table. You
Yep.
have to buy it. Eastern Standard is fabulous, by the way, right by Fenway. Another great place, Davio's. At dinner has those fabulous popovers.
Yeah, they have popovers,
right.
but any kind of Italian restaurant, you have to have the bread to sop up all the juice from the sauce.
And by the way, there's a lot of bread you have to pay for. Like the cornbread at Sarma is like beyond
cornbread is great. I love cornbread.
It's insane. Sweet Cheeks and all that stuff. Having said
Sweet
that,
Cheeks.
okay, but wait.
Has the buttermilk biscuits.
Stay with me for a second. When you go into a restaurant and the bread appears without asking, and it's free.
It's the best.
Does that not change your attitude about everything, not just the meal, but everything?
Well, I'm generally more interested in the bread than the whole rest of the meal.
Exactly,
so
especially
it's a big
for
deal.
you.
It's a big deal for me. You know,
How about
nothing
good
like
butter?
Warm bread with butter is just, it's the best.
Where's the best bread you have in a restaurant? Can you think of it?
Well, I'm a big fan of the buttermilk biscuits from Sweet Cheeks.
Sweet Cheeks are really
good. One time I went. You can buy them to take home. One time I went down and I bought 2 packs of 12, and I ate 3 of them.
I know that's not
with the
possible.
With the honey butter. That's what they come with.
I know that.
Heated up for breakfast, 3 for lunch, and 3 for dinner.
Is that a true story?
I love bread.
If you haven't had those biscuits at Sweet Cheeks, each of them weighs about 11 pounds.
They
so
do.
That is a lot
They do.
of
They sit in your
serious
stomach.
eating.
They sit in your stomach for a long time.
877-301-8097. Again, 2 questions. We don't have much time. 1, what's your favorite bread, free or not, in any restaurant in Greater Boston? And 2, doesn't even have to be Greater Boston. And 2, are you like me into this mindset that if you start with free bread sitting on the table, it's baked in the place, it's delicious.
You know where we forgot?
It really makes everything great.
Right across the street from us.
Where?
Stockyard.
Yeah,
they
that's
put
true.
free bread
And
on the table.
Yeah, that's true.
And Michael in Somerville mentions Ma Maison. Do you know Ma Maison?
Yeah, I do.
He's French bread to die for. That's what he says.
877-301-8970.
In Dorchester.
Yeah.
That's another. Ciro and Sal's in Provincetown.
You've
Amazing
never been to Ciro
olive
and
oil.
Sal's?
I've been to the one that used to be on Boylston Street, not the one in Provincetown.
Fabulous.
Bertucci's.
Well, Bertucci's had rolls not unlike the rolls at Legal, by the way. They had
they're
that
hot.
same sort of deal.
Yeah. Oh, my God. We used to eat the rolls before we ate the pizza.
You know what? One of the great experiences, speaking about free bread at dinner, how about when you go to pick up a pizza, which I know you regularly did at Bertucci's, it's even better than giving you rolls. They'd say, how many
rolls?
Want?
That's right.
And
I'd order like
my
8.
God. What?
I'd order like 8 rolls.
Look at Marjorie. She's the happiest she's ever been.
Yeah. Chillingsworth on Cape Cod in Brewster.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
I've
a little
never been
high
there.
end. Chillingsworth
It's
is
expensive, but it's
high
really
end.
supposed to be great.
An anonymous texter says the best bread is whatever bread is in front of you when you're hungry. There is some truth to that, is there not?
Parker House rolls.
No.
Are the Parker House rolls still good? I don't know.
I don't know.
I haven't been there in a long time.
What's the name of that place that closed? We took listeners when we were when we ended up sleeping.
Oh, that was Jimmy's Harborside.
On the Russian.
Yeah, the Russian ship.
Is that closed?
With all those young
I don't wanna say
sailors
what
that were in their underwear.
Is
That
Jimmy's Harborside closed?
It's gone. It's gone.
It's gone.
It's now Woods Hill or something.
Okay, can I say that? That was a huge tourist thing.
Yeah.
Let me be kind.
Yeah.
The worst restaurant you've ever eaten in your whole life?
Well,
first of all, you get these rolls that were stale.
You get the Velveeta cheese first.
They're definitely closed, correct?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay, good.
They were popovers, weren't they?
I don't know what they were. They were stale. They bring you a brick of cheese that was wrapped in aluminum foil before they brought it out. And then we're sitting there with these people who we have to spend the night with in a bunk, triple bunks, on this Russian tall ship.
Yeah, it was a bad evening.
Remember those little naked Russian boys
they were in
running around?
They were in their underpants.
They were in their
naked.
underpants. Well, same
Okay. Let's
okay,
go.
thank you.
Gave you words of Magoni's. Actually, Magoni's, which is undergoing a transformation. I hope it's
I
open.
didn't say that, by the way.
They have cinnamon sticks at Magoni's, which were very, very popular.
That's
they
like
were
gimmicky.
delicious.
Isn't that gimmicky, though?
I love them.
Okay, let's go to Susan in Merrimack, Massachusetts. What's your deal?
Good morning.
And to you.
I guess it's afternoon.
Whatever.
Anyway, I used to go to a restaurant, a little sort of typical New England seafood restaurant called Jake's on Route 16 up in New Hampshire. And they would serve for their bread for free a little loaf baked in a mini tin pail. And it had molasses in it.
Oh, my God.
It was fresh and hot from the oven. And then somewhere around COVID time, they stopped offering it, and I haven't been back since.
Well, see, that's my point. I mean, that is such an entry point for a great restaurant, and without it, it loses its je ne sais quoi.
Yeah.
Susan, thanks for the call.
Well, some guy in one of these stories talked about how expensive it is. The food, he said he spent $500,000 a year on bread and butter.
Read the next sentence.
But from a financial standpoint, getting rid of the bread was the dumbest move we ever made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why? Because it brings people in like
Because everybody
me.
loves it. It gets diners in the door when they could go someplace else.
By the way, that guy who said he spent $500,000 a year owns restaurants called Park in Philadelphia with a C and Le Diplomat in D.C., which has the cranberry walnut loaf, which this Katie Weaver said in this endless piece in The Atlantic was the best free bread in America. Did you know that?
I did not know that,
Well, good.
but thank you very much for telling me. Okay,
My
I have
pleasure.
a bunch of nominations.
What are
The
they?
Longhorn Restaurant, the Texas Roadhouse Restaurant, Cheesecake Factory,
Cheesecake Factory is in Katie Weaver's story.
Scargo Cafe in Dennis. A lot of them.
You know why
Abe
they
and
don't-
Louie's Steakhouse.
You know
Isn't
why
that
they
right
don't give
around
free
here?
bread? You know why restaurants do give free bread, right?
Because people don't eat it and it's expensive.
No, they do eat it, and they fill up, and they don't order stuff that costs money.
I know. That's why you want to go out for dinner and with the rolls on the table as soon as you get there so you can eat
You know
them
what
right
I do
away.
with good bread, Marjorie? I pre-game it at home. I stuff it. No, I don't. I just want to see if she's
Listen
paying
with
attention.
this. At Abe and Louie's,
Louie's.
absolutely fabulous
That's not
warm
good.
rolls served in cast iron skillet with
Yeah.
butter and salt on top. But they have been discontinued, this texture
The
says.
cornbread at Sarma, is
Rest
which has different
in
flavors,
peace.
is served in a little cast iron thing, too. Burning hot. It's fabulous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Paul and Ipswich, you're next on the bread discussion here thing on Boston Public Radio. Hi.
Hi, my comment comes under first impressions.
Please.
And when I think, I've got to turn my phone volume
No, don't
down.
turn your phone. Turn your radio down.
Turn my radio down.
Is it an echo, whatever. Go
Back
ahead.
in the days of bell bottoms, I worked in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty high-class restaurant, but I was a busboy, and I had to bring out the bread.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it was a good restaurant, they really didn't pay any attention to the bread. And these rolls were so hard because they kept them in the bread
box
area box overnight. And if you dropped one on your toe, you'd probably have to call 911.
Oh, no.
So do people like them, or what'd they do with them?
No, they'd often throw them at me.
That's nice. Okay, Paul.
Thank you for...
there's more to this. Go ahead.
First impressions. So now when I get great bread, I love it.
Well, that's it. That is exactly what I was trying to say. First impressions. Thank you. By the way, the only person who speaks better about bread more lovingly than me is the great Jacques Pepin.
Jacques Pepin.
Here is Jacques
we
Pepin.
also have Julia Child, too.
In a cooking video from 4 years ago talking about his love of bread.
Bread, for a Frenchman, is the staff of life. I cannot live without bread.
Is that one of the most beautiful sentences you ever heard?
Because if you live in France, every morning you go out and get the fresh baguette at the local bakery and you eat it right away. But I want to play, as long as we're playing great chefs, our own local, Julia Child. Our staff found footage of Jim in the hunt for fresh bread. In this clip, Julia is pounding the kitchen counter with bread dough.
I went to 3 different markets to find unsliced sandwich bread, and I couldn't find any. That's the bread dilemma we face unless we make our own.
How great is that? How
So,
great is that?
I think it's Nicole tells us. Is it you, Nicole? Barcelona Wine Bar in Brookline, which we both love.
Their
by
bread
the
is
way,
great.
Gives free bread.
They
the
do.
recent Globe blind date couple, my favorite column in the Globe, by the way, went there and bonded over the nice bread. Is that true?
That is absolutely
and
true.
they're going on a
That's
second
absolutely
date.
true. They have absolutely
Wait,
great bread at
Nicole
Barcelona.
says free bread promotes love.
It does.
Is that not true? It's so beautiful.
I have a few more places that are mentioned. Focaccia bread, pesto with olive oil at Lucas in the North End, Tosca's in Hingham, and I'm looking for more that people.
By the way, you know where they have focaccia, but you do
warm
have to pay.
challah bread
You don't have
with
to
butter.
pay. You don't have to pay for bread at the sourdough at Eastern Standard. But if you walk across the way, and we've been there to Standard Italian for $5, which is not horrible, fabulous focaccia. Marjorie's moving on. Coda in Boston texts, when a restaurant discontinues the free bread, that's when I stop going to the restaurant. Now there's a personal principle.
Yeah, it's really awful to have to say, do you have any bread? And they
Horrible.
say, yes, well, it's $5, and then they bring you some crummy bread because they're not into it. It's a big mistake. People love bread.
And can I tell you something? I don't own a restaurant. You're aware of that, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, here's what I would do if I owned a restaurant, but I assume people who own restaurants have thought of this.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of charging $5 for bread, add $2 to my entree, add $1 to the dessert, 50 cents to the coffee, and give me the damn free bread. Because it's not really free bread. We all know you pay for it one way or another. I want to pay for it through the back door, Marjorie.
I'm with you, Jim, 100%.
Well, thank you.
I think that's the way you should do it. Okay, there's a few more things.
Oh, please.
Tuscany Tavern in North Plymouth, great rustic Italian bread. Rossini at the Concord Sudbury line even baked me fresh bread to take home for free.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
Let's go to Anna in Providence. Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hi, Jim and Marjorie.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hello.
What's your bread deal?
Go ahead.
So I love the popovers at Davio's.
Yep.
And went there purposely on Easter to get the popovers. They said the popovers don't come out until 1 p.m., so we stretched our brunch to 1 p.m.
I love
At
this
1
woman.
p.m., they brought out the popovers, and they were covered in cinnamon. They were unedible.
I like cinnamon. Oh, Anna, that's one of the saddest stories ever heard.
That is real. That is
especially after you stuck around brilliantly and strategically to get the popovers. That is really sad. Anna, thank you. Even though the popovers generally, I should say, maybe except on Easter for Anna and her family, are spectacular at Davio's.
Lamora in Brookline serves delicious bread with ricotta cheese.
How good is really good butter, too?
Butter.
We could do a whole show on butter.
That's the honey butter at Tiffany Faison's Sweet Cheeks.
Yeah.
You buy the biscuits with the honey butter. You can buy them to take home. You can just go there and buy biscuits, which I have done on many occasions.
You know what that's called? It's called takeout.
Takeout. It's takeout biscuits, and you can eat them for days and days and days.
Did you really eat 9 in one day?
I did.
Would you agree? Would you
I
agree?
love bread.
This can of seltzer weighs about the same thing.
Yeah.
Full as
it's
one
full. I love
biscuit.
bread. When I was in college, I lived in a place where we made our own bread. So every night at like 11 o'clock, you could smell like 12
what happened to you
loaves of
one
bread
night, Marjorie?
coming out. Well, I ate so much bread on one particular night, and I put butter and honey all over it when it was hot out of the oven. But it was so hot and so newly baked that it was still cooking in my stomach.
And you thought your stomach
and
was
I
going to
thought
explode.
I'd be in the front page of the Stanford Daily, co-ed explodes from stomach bread.
Now, you've had a lot of
overeating.
people who've had that experience, haven't you?
It happens all the time.
All
the time.
Yeah.
Is it the best bread?
No, I love bread.
How
Who
come you
doesn't?
haven't done a curiosity desk on free bread?
It's a great question.
It's a great idea.
I don't know. We'll have to take it up. And also, by the way,
This is Edgar B. Herrick III from
hey everybody,
Curiosity Desk. Thank you.
Somebody mentioned the Stockyard and just passed by. One of the things I love about the Stockyard is that it's not just bread. There's also crackers that
That's
come
right.
with
Sticks. Aren't there bread
sometimes
sticks,
there's
too?
sticks in the little basket.
Oh,
but do you guys
God.
make your own? I make so much bread.
I don't know how to
Most
make
of the bread
Do
I
you?
eat.
I
Yeah.
used to, not anymore. What kind do you make?
Oh, I make seeded rye, pumpernickel, just straight white bread.
Isn't it the best?
English muffins,
Pounding it
pizza
down,
dough. Oh, it's so good.
Rolling the dough. It's really.
But have you learned yet? You don't just eat the yeast and then eat the dough.
You just eat the
and then-
ingredients.
and assume
No,
it's
well,
gonna
sometimes
do
this
it?
keeps
You know
cooking.
who's a great bread lover and bread baker is Michael Dukakis. I have talked to him about baking bread before.
Really? In
Yeah,
addition to the
yeah.
turkey soup?
Yeah, Anadama bread. He's got like a family recipe for
What
it.
is that again?
Anadama.
I've heard of that.
It's
What
like
is it?
molasses.
Yeah,
it's like
great
a brown
bread.
bread. It's an old
Yeah.
New England brown
I'm really
bread.
getting
yeah.
hungry having this discussion.
Yeah, so am
Well, what are you doing on the show, which is live here?
We're live here, so
by
don't go
the,
anywhere, folks. We're picking
Jared's
it up
show.
live,
What is it?
and then Jared's like, I'm gonna learn how to darn socks on the air.
You are?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking with somebody who's. It is Earth Week, as it's Earth Week,
Yeah.
as you know.
What's got to do with darning socks?
Well, if you take care of your own clothes,
That's
Jim,
right.
it's
Oh,
good
you
for
don't
the
have to worry
environment.
about-
yeah,
yeah.
so not just darning socks, but we're going to talk about just all of the ways that people can fix clothes and upcycle them at home.
You know what's
and,
incredible
do a little
coincidence?
something
You're
for
going to do
yourself and
darning
the world.
socks
Yeah.
today. Monday, we're knitting sweaters on the air on our show.
The symbiosis here, Jim. It's like a Vulcan mind meld.
That's right.
At the Boston Public
Brilliant
Library.
Coordination.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stick around for
Thank you
Edgar
very
and
much.
his crew.
Edgar's at 1 and Jared's at 2. Keep up with us. Boston Public Radio, but we have a podcast, or check out our TikTok page at Boston Public Radio on Monday.
That is really feeble applause for
as
Edgar.
King Charles arrives for his
Thank
first
you.
state
Thank
visit.
you.
We'll talk with USA Today's Susan Page. Got a great book about the Queen and her
It is
presidents, all
great.
about her childhood growing up. Plus, retired federal judge Nancy Gertner to talk about the latest illegalities that are being taking place in Washington, D.C., and Tufts International Affairs expert Daniel Dresner on the war, and GBH's Jared Bowen. We want to thank our great crew, Zoe Matthews, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, Ariana Gonzalez, our engineer, John the Claw Parker. Thanks again for the favor, John. Our executive producer, Jamie Bologna. Special thanks to our BPL staff, Maddie Garr, Bill Francis, Patrick Lally, Sandra Lopez Burke, our host of the Newsfeed Cafe, and across the street at the Lenox Hotel. Edgar B. Hurwitz III and the Curiosity Desk starts right after us, live from the Boston Public Library. And the Culture Show's Week in Review starts at 2, also from the Boston Public Library. Did a nice job this week, Jim. I just want to say so. I had a few missteps, a few things backwards, lost a few papers, but other than that, it wasn't bad.
Near perfect.
Okay.
I'm Jim Browning.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Have a great weekend. Hope you can tune in again on Monday.
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future, How Did We Get Here's, how-tos, and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Speakeasy Stage, presenting Swept Away. 4 New Bedford whalers must confront who they are and what they've done as they fight to survive a shipwreck. With music by the Avett Brothers. Now through May 23rd. SpeakeasyStage.com. And MIT Sloan Executive Education, fueled by cutting-edge research and aided by the latest technology, professionals can choose from more than 90 in-person and online courses offered throughout the year. Executive.mit.edu.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
I'm Edgar B. Hurwitz III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, we are live from the Boston Public Library. A message for the penny pinchers out there, either by necessity or sick compulsion. Giving 2 cents about the climate does not have to be a strictly moral decision. There are real benefits to living sustainably, and that includes our clothes. At-home mending is simpler than you might expect. At least that's what today's guest has promised. Tune in to see if I accidentally sew my fingers shut before a live studio audience. It's the Curiosity Desk's version of Siegfried and Roy. And if patching and stitching aren't your things, maybe building your own telescope is. It's not just Earth Week, it's also Space Week here in Massachusetts. We've got those stories and more all ahead this hour on the Curiosity Desk.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Libby Casey. The Justice Department is dropping its investigation into Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. The decision likely paves the way for the Senate to confirm President Trump's nominee to head the central bank, Kevin Warsh. NPR's Ryan Lucas reports.
The U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., Jeanine Pirro, says in a statement on X that her office is closing its investigation into Fed Chair Jerome Powell over cost overruns in the renovations of the Fed's headquarters. Pirro says instead the Federal Reserve's Inspector General has been asked to examine the cost issues. The Justice Department's investigation into Powell generated major blowback for the Trump administration when the probe's existence became public earlier this year. It prompted North Carolina Republican Senator Tom Tillis to threaten to block President Trump's pick to replace Powell at the Fed, Kevin Warsh, unless the DOJ dropped its investigation. Now the decision to do exactly that appears to clear the way for the Senate to move forward on Warsh's nomination. Ryan Lucas, NPR News, Washington.
President Trump has announced a 3-week extension to pause the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. But as NPR's Kat Lonsdorf reports from Beirut, both sides have continued to acknowledge attacks despite the agreement.
Hezbollah says it fired rockets into northern Israel Thursday night. The Israeli military says all were intercepted. That's after an Israeli airstrike killed prominent Lebanese journalist Amal Khalil while she was reporting in the south, the 8th journalist killed by Israel and Lebanon in the past 2 months. The Israeli military responded to Hezbollah's attack by carrying out several more airstrikes in the south on what it says were military structures. All of this occurred as the Israeli and Lebanese ambassadors were in Washington to discuss the extension of the ceasefire. Iran-backed Hezbollah has been opposed to direct talks, while Iran insisted on a ceasefire in Lebanon to continue peace talks with the U.S. Kat Lonsdorf, NPR News, Beirut.
The tech company Meta has announced it is laying off about 10% of its staff. The parent company of Facebook and Instagram is now investing heavily on developing AI. This year, Meta forecasts record capital expenditures of up to $135 billion, almost double what it spent last year. NPR's John Ruwich reports the layoffs will take place May 20th.
Meta's chief people officer Janelle Gale says the layoffs are part of a continued effort to run the company more efficiently. The cuts will also allow it to offset other investments the company is making. Meta and other big players in AI have been spending vast amounts of money to build data centers and try to win the AI race. Gale says while it's unwelcome news that puts employees in an uneasy state, the company feels it's the best path forward given the circumstances.
Meta is a financial supporter of NPR. Officials are ordering more evacuations in Georgia for residents near a large wildfire that has destroyed scores of homes in the state's rural southeast. This is NPR News, live in Washington.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. Another Massachusetts liberal arts college is shutting down. From our higher ed desk, GBH's Kirk Carapezza reports, like Hampshire College in Amherst, Anna Maria College in Paxton had been struggling with declining enrollment and mounting financial pressure.
The 80-year-old school outside of Worcester says it's closing this summer. The move wasn't a surprise. State officials warned earlier this month that the small private college with almost no endowment was on shaky ground.
This was all out in the public.
Robert Kelchin teaches higher ed policy at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. He says the real shock is the timing.
The only surprising thing was announcing closing essentially 2 weeks before graduation.
Kelchin says that leaves students and staff scrambling to figure out what comes next. Anna Maria is at least the 11th school in Massachusetts to merge or close over the past decade. That's the highest rate in the country. Kirk Carapezza, GBH News.
Today is Right Whale Day in Massachusetts, the 4th annual day to recognize the endangered species, which spends time in Cape Cod Bay during April. In recent weeks, several mother-calf pairs have been spotted in Cape Cod Bay on their way north from their winter calving grounds. The New England Aquarium marks the day by educating and inspiring the public about the importance of right whales. The celebration this year is to set focus on the power of community and right whale conservation. Meanwhile, the Center for Coastal Studies in Provincetown has events planned to mark the occasion as well. 53 degrees in Boston. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Subaru. In partnership with the Arbor Day Foundation, Subaru and its retailers have distributed 165,000 trees since 2025. Subaru, more than a car company.
Welcome to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are live at the Boston Public Library and streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. One of the challenges confronting climate change has always been that so much of the work to be done rests on massive corporations, on governments, on nations, and that remains as true as ever. It's easy to look out at the mess we are in and feel a little bit overwhelmed. But there are small ways to contribute, if not for the climate, for yourself, for your mental health, for your physical health, and yes, for your wallet. For 6 years now, the New England News Collaborative has been uniting journalists across the Northeast to cover how climate change affects us here in our backyard. Now, the woman leading this week's excellent coverage joins us now via Zoom. Cori Princell is managing editor of the New England News Collaborative. Cori, congratulations on a successful week, and welcome to the Curiosity Desk.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
So give us an overview of this annual tradition, how it came about, and was there a particular focus this year? Is there a particular focus most years?
There is, yeah. This is the 6th year we've worked together as a collaborative, and the New England News Collaborative is made up of 10 stations. All of the main public media stations in New England are part of this work. In past years, we've had themes about things like food, how climate change affects food in New England, housing. But this year we were thinking about affordability like so many other people, and how it affects the pocketbook, and how things we do to save money can also help the climate.
When, we sort of mentioned in the intro this idea that on the one hand, when you think about climate change, you think about, well, how can I do my part in climate change? It's like, can one person really do anything? So much of it is, billionaires, corporations, all of this. But you sort of still believe, and this is reflected in the coverage this week, that there are things that we can be doing as individuals.
Absolutely. And I think we can't lose sight of sort of who's responsible and what we need to do in these bigger ways to change our systems and our ways of living. But it feels good. There are a lot of benefits when we tackle climate change in personal ways. It can be better for our health. It can help us develop new skills, new habits, new places we go, new people we meet. And like we found in the series, it can actually save us a lot of money. And so when our actions are better for us personally, it's kind of a no-brainer that it's good to do these things.
Something we all do every day is eat. And apparently if you're Jim Browdy and there's free bread, you do it maybe multiple times a day. But one story that was part of this coverage this week offers some ideas about how, this simple, regular act of going to the grocery store, buying food is somewhere where we can potentially be mindful. And this is one of those kind of classic win-win-win situations. The idea that, as you say, it's sort of good for your pocketbook, can be good for the environment, and good for the community.
Right. I worked with reporter Nirvani Williams at New England Public Media on this story. And this one was kind of a challenge because when you first start thinking about food and climate change, you might think, oh, well, that's going to be really expensive because organic food is so expensive. So our challenge with this one was, is that true? Are there ways to eat that's good for the climate that also isn't like hugely expensive that anyone can find accessible to them? So our reporter Nirvani went out with a nutritionist who's involved with the Women, Infant, and Children's Nutrition Program, WIC. So her focus is really about nutrition and saving money. But she found this nutritionist found even things that are good for you, healthy and cheap, you can also still think about climate change with those decisions. So the two main takeaways in that story, one, if you buy food in season, that makes a huge difference. Like if you want to go buy fresh tomatoes right now, they're going to be really expensive, probably not very tasty. But in the height of summer, we'll have piles of fresh tomatoes from New England farms. They'll be cheaper and they won't have to travel across the planet. So there's a lot less global climate change emissions involved. So buying food when they're in season can support local farms, can be cheaper. And then the other takeaway that she tells her clients that I think can apply to anyone is the benefits of buying in bulk. So it's often cheaper to buy a big bag of rice than lots of small plastic bags of rice, a big bag of onions. It's cheaper overall. It can provide a lot of different meals. And it's just less packaging, less plastic in a big plastic bag than lots of small ones. So those are two things to keep in mind. And as I think many of us know, some grocery stores you can buy in bulk containers and bring in your own containers. So you don't even need any of that food waste, packaging waste. So those are two things that I think are really good to keep in mind, buying in bulk and buying in season.
There you go. Practical advice coming right down the pike at you. So you mentioned, tomatoes from farms in New England. Farms in New England were also the sort of centerpiece of another one of the features here, largely in Connecticut. Great story. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, I worked with reporter Anya Pinello at Connecticut Public for this story. And she visited a couple of different farmers, one really large-scale dairy farmer and one really small-scale vegetable farmer, another vegetable farmer who also raises some meat products. But what she found with all of them, when they've made investments in renewable energy, solar panels in particular, but also heat pumps, it made a huge difference in their monthly bills. Some of them had their electricity bills almost zeroed out. And for farmers, it's not just a kind of nice to have, makes them feel like they're doing something good. She found it's actually part of their economic survival because there's so many pressures on farmers right now, and the costs are rising and everything from equipment, land, labor. So if you can lower your electricity, it makes a huge difference.
One of the things that really jumped out at me in this story is the fact that, as you mentioned, one of the farmers is a larger scale dairy farmer, and they were saying that, without some of the alternative energy that they're turning to, they are sometimes looking at $100,000 a month for their electricity bill. That's astounding.
Yeah, I was also shocked by that story. And that is one of the biggest dairy producers in this state, but I still found it amazing. And one of the sources in that story reminded us that farmers are business people. They need to find ways to make this work. And so for him, he has solar panels already that provide a portion of his electric bills, but he's going to invest in more because he really needs to help cover that expense.
I don't know how many people think about, I mean, I guess it depends on where you are, but like farms in New England, farmers in New England, there are a lot of them. And it overall, in terms of like the land mass of New England, they take up a small footprint, but they're a big part of the public consciousness, I think, to a certain extent. And also, as you point out, like you can get a lot of food that is made locally here.
Yeah, you can. If you know where to go, you know what's in season, you know when to go. And it can be, it's not always the most expensive choice either. I know that I have a local farm stand I like to go to at the end of the summer. Like they close on Thanksgiving. So I go sort of towards the end and I can get these giant bags of apples that maybe aren't pretty, but they're really inexpensive. So there are things like that that really support the farmers. And also give us local fresh food that's tasty and cheaper.
You listen to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. We are talking with Cori Princell from the New England News Collaborative about sustainable living and their Earth Week programming. It's not all food. Everything is not food in this series. And you have a story that aired just this morning, which is about fixing stuff that we have, which is just a terrific story. Tell us about this piece.
Yeah, when we were thinking about ways to save money, one that came to mind right away is just don't buy as much. Some of these buying a new kitchen appliance or a new pair of jeans or a new pair of even wool socks can be very expensive when you're trying to save money. And there are groups around New England that offer these repair, fix-it clinics where you can bring in your toaster that doesn't quite work well or is totally broken, or your old lamp that flickers, or your wonderful jeans that you love that have a big hole that you don't like. You can bring them in and people will either fix it for you, either for free as a volunteer or for a cost, or some of these, they'll teach you how to do the fixes yourself. So at the story that you're referring was by Amy Kolb-Noyce at CAI on the Cape. And she had one of these flickery lamps that, some of us might think, oh, that lamp doesn't work anymore. I'll just have to go to Target and buy a new one. But she brought it in to this clinic and she had a volunteer test it out, rewire it slightly. And now she has a really nice lamp behind her favorite chair again. And it's the same lamp she's always had. So part of what you looked into in that story is just the tremendous e-waste that we produce around the globe and how a lot of that just really produces like dangerous toxicants in the landfills. And so if we can keep these products in use longer, and then when we really can't anymore properly recycling them, it's just really important for the climate. So first step, find ways to keep using it.
Yeah. There's a quote in that story from Meg Morris. She chairs the Brewster Waste Reduction and Recycling Commission, and they're the people who put on some of these clinics. And she says, you think you're going to break it, but it's broken already. What harm is there in trying? And it strikes me because as I listen to and read the stories in this series, there's this undercurrent in all of it about personal empowerment. The idea of like, hey, yeah, like you can sort of with a little bit of gumption do some stuff, make some small changes, and they can have a difference.
Yeah, that's something I really love about the story too. We have a story that at GBH produced about clothing repair, and I really heard that in some of the tape, just how much people enjoy learning a new stitch. They'll use these special stitches to repair a hole in a way that actually makes it almost decorative and makes it more beautiful. And what they were saying is that, when you spend that kind of care and time repairing something, saves you money, helps you not have any waste, but also it turns that object into something really cherished and precious because you have a history. Maybe you worked on that repair with other people who became your friends in your community. So I've heard from people in these stories of this resourcefulness, this thriftiness, these new skills they've gathered really have a lot of meaning to them.
Cori, you're giving us a great setup here at the library. That story was done by our very own Hannah Loss, one of the producers on our show, and we are going to be learning some stitching here at the library in just a few minutes after we're done talking with you. So thank you for that. Earlier this week, we did a piece on the Curiosity Desk about spring cleaning, and we talked with this historian and this author, Susan Strasser, about she wrote a serious academic study as well as books about the history of household cleaning. And she talked, when we were talking with her, about this notion of household cleaning and it being something that has disproportionately historically fallen on women and been handed down from generation to generation. And I asked her what the upshot of that was. And she had this amazing quote which really stuck with me, where she said, the upshot is essentially that what you end up having is this imbalance in an understanding of literally what it takes to live, what it takes to move through the world, that by passing this down woman to woman to woman, this is learned sort of in some ways by women in a way that men don't really learn. And there's something in all of this stuff, in these stories, these sort of lessons from grandmothers, that is also percolating throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that has definitely been on my mind as I've been working on this series. I've been thinking back about my grandmother and my mom, and I spent a lot of time as a kid going to thrift stores. I remember having projects with my mom, who's really good at sewing. Whenever she comes to visit us, we've got a stack of mending for her. But we would take old pairs of jeans and make them into a purse or a skirt or something. So there's so much resourcefulness when I was growing up, and just this idea that you can repair, rather than the zipper stops working, just replace the zipper. Don't buy a new coat. And she also was I remember stopping at a lot of farm stands. I grew up in Colorado, and we would stop at these farm stands and get big bags of, tomatoes and onions, and my mom would make salsa, and she would make ketchup, and we would can it and save it for the winter. So just a lot of resourcefulness, I think, that she learned from her mother. Her grandmother lived through the Depression. So I think we've got a lot of these skills that were learned in times that were leaner in this country, when people had to be more resourceful just because they had a lot less and they had to make their money stretch further. And some of these lessons get passed down in families. And I think it's just a good reminder. It's I was thinking it's an easy way to think, what can I do? How can I spend less money and do something for the climate? Just think about what your grandmother would have done. How would she have lived through these times?
You listen to the Curiosity Desk. We're talking with Cori Princell from the New England News Collaborative. Let's talk about the New England News Collaborative. I mean, we're not breaking news here to say that public media in particular has been under a certain amount of strain and change and churn. And the collaborative, right there in the name, seems that, it is about fostering collaboration. You're just talking about lean times for people's pocketbooks, maybe sort of, collaboration helps you sort of weather difficult financial times. How does a series like this help do that? What does it mean for stations in the system in New England to be working with each other?
Yeah, I mean, I think this series is just one example of what our collaborative can do for each other. The example of this series, we had 8 stations contribute stories. So for them, they produced one story and they got 8 in return. So they had, their reporters might have worked with their editor or with me on a single piece, but then they had a week of coverage of linked stories that really get into an important topic. So it's this idea of, you contribute what you can, you bring your skills and your time, but through the collaborative, you get a lot more. Every day, our 10 stations share stories with each other for broadcast. We publish each other's stories freely. And we help each other out with reporting. It's because we all work together, all these small newsrooms are much bigger because they have resources and skills in other newsrooms they can call upon. So we've had examples of projects where Maybe one station contributes the reporting, another station contributes the graphics. Maybe our team contributes the photos. So it's through working together we can produce a lot more than we could do alone. And that's just that's important as newsrooms. Maybe they've had to cut staff. Maybe they can't travel anymore. Maybe those travel budgets have been cut. But if they can work with the station, who's in that place that they're covering, they can work together and it doesn't cost them any extra money. So I do see collaboration as a really important tool going forward in public media.
What about for the listeners of these stations, which is to say, I don't know if I'm a GBH listener and I live in downtown Boston, what does it matter that I have access to or hear a story about a small farmer in Connecticut, or vice versa? If I'm living in Vermont out in the countryside, what does it matter if I hear about, pop-ups in the city where I can learn how to sew something,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I do think that most people who live in New England have some kind of New England identity and an interest in what's happening around the region. But that aside, I mean, we have very small states. We're right next to each other, and yet we can have really different things going on, really different state policies to some of the same common challenges. And that's another reason I love the work I do, because we can get we can really only see what's around us and within our state borders. And when you have stories that say, hey, we're all struggling with, the drought, but here's what one state has done to try to relieve farmers. And that can give you ideas to help your own farmers, or here's something happening in a city that maybe you could replicate in your own small town. So hearing about solutions and ideas and different things that the different states and communities are trying across the region, I think can be really helpful and can widen our perspectives quite a bit.
What do you do now that you've succeeded with pulling this collaboration off? Do you kick your feet up and have a little champagne, or is it on to the next? What's next for you?
I am going on vacation next week.
Perfect.
I'm in New Hampshire and it's school vacation here next week. But after that, we're turning to the World Cup, actually. That'll be a major story in the region, certainly in Boston, where a lot of the matches will be played, in Providence, where another one of the national teams will be based. But all over the region, we're going to see a ton of excitement, a ton of watch parties. People are going to be celebrating the different team countries that are coming through. So we have an organizing meeting the week I'm back, looking at how we can coordinate and work together on that coverage.
All right, we'll look forward to that. We've been speaking with Cori Princell, managing editor for the New England News Collaborative. To check out all of those stories we've been talking about and more from Climate Week, go to NENC.news. And while you're at it, check out their Instagram at Our New England. After a quick break, each year the clothing industry contributes as much as 8% of the global greenhouse emissions. One way to fight back? Making the clothes you do have last more than a year or two. Grab those needles and spools of thread, people. We're going to learn how to give a darn. That's next. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. You're listening to The Curiosity Desk, live at the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, The Man in the Mirror. The new Michael Jackson biopic reflects the brilliance that made him the king of pop, but it sidesteps the child sexual abuse allegations that overshadowed his final years. Plus, the return of pastels, speedboats, and swagger. The 1980s cop saga Miami Vice will return with Michael B. Jordan and Austin Butler stepping into Crockett and Tubbs territory. We take on that and more in our Week in Review, today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And the Cape Cod Foundation, committed to building resources to support community life on Cape Cod, including environmental conservation, arts and culture, and community development. Learn more at capecodfoundation.org. And Gentle Giant Moving and Storage Company, offering local, long-distance office and piano moving with 23 locations throughout New England and across the country. More information at gentlegiant.com.
You are listening to The Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are live at the Boston Public Library and streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. We're going to keep pulling on this Earth Week thread with our next guest. Darning is not just something you hear about Father Mackenzie doing in the night when there's nobody there, and our next guest says you should care. Darning is just one way to take the clothes already in your closet and make them usable again or wholly new with any number of upcycling techniques, all accessible with a little needle and thread or a simple sewing machine. We're about to learn all about it, and I'm about to learn how to do this live on the air. If I prick myself, those of you kind of in the front are maybe going to get splashed with some blood, so my producer Aiden's going to hand out some raincoats. With me to help me in this journey right now is Jessamay Shay Collins, a textile artist, educator, and sustainable fashion designer. She teaches mending workshops, offers repairs, and is the co-owner of High Energy Vintage, a store in Somerville with her husband, right across the street from the Market Basket. Welcome to the Curiosity Desk, Jessamay.
Hi, thank you.
All right, let's start with darning. We can get into like kind of what you do a little more broadly in a moment. But what is darning?
So darning is essentially reweaving a section of fabric. So if you have a hole, or I've also used it to cover stains. So if you have damaged fabric, you're reweaving that fabric to repair it.
Okay, so I hear darning, and maybe it's just because I'm a Beatles fan. I hear darning, and the only thing I think of is socks. I'm like, that's what, if you're going to repair your socks, you're going to darn the socks.
Yeah.
But it's not just socks, right?
It's not
you
just
would
socks.
potentially darn other items.
You can darn kind of anything.
What's the difference between darning and just sewing?
So, I mean, darning is related to sewing. They're all like a form of stitching. So, sewing, when you think of sewing, you're typically thinking of like restitching a seam. So, like the seams where your clothes are put together.
Yeah.
Whereas darning, you're essentially creating new fabric.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do some darning.
Okay.
Walk me through it.
Okay.
Here we go. All right.
All
Folks
right.
at the library, you look up on the screens or kind of get a gander at us, and we're going to see how we do here. This is a great time, by the way, if you are listening, you want to check out our YouTube stream. It's YouTube. You'll be able to see some of this, too. I'm going to try to stay on the camera. All right. What do I have to do? What do I need? I need a needle and thread. Yes?
You need a needle. And thread. So we're going to be using embroidery floss.
Okay.
So I typically sort of gravitate more towards visible mending, which is creating a mend that's supposed to be beautiful and visible. You're kind of highlighting the mend instead of hiding it, doing something more invisible.
And why do you like the visible mend thing?
I like that it's creative. I like that it kind of helps you personalize your clothing. Your previous guest was talking about mending and how you form more of an emotional attachment to your clothing if you've put that work into it.
Totally.
So I like the artistic aspect.
Okay, so the idea here is we're going to make a feature of the fact that our clothes have ripped or whatever, and we want this to be seen. So we pick a thread that we like. This is what'd you call it? Embroidery floss.
This is embroidery floss.
Where do I get it?
Sorry.
Where would I get it?
You can get it at pretty much any sewing or craft store.
All right.
And it comes in a million different colors, like any color that you could need. So it's very inexpensive and readily available.
All right.
So if you're going to darn, typically the first thing that I like to do is to start by drawing a little box on my fabric.
Okay.
This will just help keep your box sort of straight. It's very hard to stitch straight without kind of a guideline. So typically, if you have a hole, you would draw your little box around the hole, typically about 1/2 inch on any side.
I see.
And then once you have your box, you can start filling it in with stitches. So we're going to start in one corner.
So I have a box on mine here. So I'm just
you've
going
got
to
a box.
Just this thread right here?
That's fine.
All right.
And start in one corner of your box.
And then in what direction am I
come from the
going?
back to the front.
Already doing it wrong. Coming from the back. How do you fit? I see. All right. From the back to the front.
The back to the front. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and then I just pull it through.
And pull through.
Ow. That's one
Don't stab
finger
yourself.
prick. That's fine. It was just once.
And then we're going to jump straight
so we're going
across.
straight line?
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're making basically a series of straight lines here.
Okay.
So then you're going to come right up again, right next to where you went down in.
Uh-huh. Okay. So just doing parallel lines here.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. How did you learn how to do this? Do we do this for a while? Just these
we
parallel
do
lines?
We do this.
This
for
is
a
it.
while.
This is the thing. We just go back and forth forever.
Darning takes a long time.
All right. So we'll get to it takes a long time in a second. How did you start to learn? How did you learn how to do this?
I kind of taught myself. I went to Mass Art for fibers and fashion design, so I've always been interested in this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So Also partly out of necessity. You mentioned my husband and I own a vintage clothing store, so with vintage clothing comes
you
repairs.
You got to do some fixes, yeah.
Yes. So I think I had a garment that needed a darn, and I was like, well, I guess it's time to learn how to darn.
What else do you do besides darn?
You can also, in terms of visible mending, do patching. So I do a lot of sort of fabric collage and patching and embroidery.
Cool.
And upcycling, so taking...
I'm just checking. First of all, you are way faster than me. Second of all, you are much better than me. Your lines are much closer together.
Many more times than
folks who are here at the library, how many of you know how to darn? Do folks know how to darn? We got a couple.
All right.
We got a couple. Nicely done. Very good. Does anybody want to come up here and darn with us a little bit? Please feel free to amble up. Okay, so you were saying it takes time, which I think is a barrier to entry for a lot of people. What's your advice? I would say this, the number of people I know who are like, I would love to learn how to do something like this. I would love to learn how to darn. I would love to learn how to sew. I would love to learn how to buy a shirt at a vintage store and just make a couple alterations to it and make it what I want it to be.
Yeah.
But the barrier to entry is two things. One, either they feel like they don't have the equipment or they don't have the know-how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, they're like, this takes forever to do it. How am I going to learn? How can I have the patience to learn? So help us with the how do we get the patience part of it?
I mean, I think a lot of people, so I teach mending workshops, and a lot of people that come to those workshops are people that want to do something that takes time.
Yeah.
Maybe I hear from a lot of people that work in tech or they work on a computer all day and they want to do something that's slow and that they do with their hands. So
part of it is you just got to be this is what this is.
Yeah, you just got to commit to the process.
Yeah. Okay, so committing to the process, and then now I'm going backwards. You're helping us with the other part of it, which is to say, you teach classes. So tell us about those classes. Who's coming to those classes? Where do you teach those classes? What do we learn in these classes?
I teach pretty frequently at the Cambridge and Somerville public libraries, usually a couple times a month. I teach several different types of workshops. I teach patching, I teach darning, I teach some embroidery, and then some more invisible type of repair methods. So just hand sewing stitches that I use when I'm repairing a garment, just invisibly. And sewing on buttons is something that a lot of people want to learn how to do.
Sewing on buttons. See, I have two different buttons on this. On my jacket here, I did not sew this button on, but I did pick this button out. So I did a little work.
Yeah.
And so when did you start teaching classes? 2022 or something like that?
2022.
So I feel and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, the pandemic was a time when a lot of people had a lot of time and started to say, hey, maybe this is something I can learn, right? But now we're so far out of it. We're years out of the pandemic. Did you see that sort of trend happen? And then where are we at now? Have people stuck with it? Is it still something people are trying to learn how to do? Has it sort of changed the sort of fabric, so to speak, of that community and who's in these spaces doing this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, coming out of the pandemic, there were definitely a lot of people who were interested in taking classes, not just because they wanted to learn something, but because they just wanted to be around other people again. And I actually haven't seen that really wane at all, which is kind of cool. There are still a lot of people that are coming to these workshops. I mean, frequently my workshops fill up and they have a wait list, so there are still a lot of people that want to learn these skills, and I think some of it is also related to the conversations that we're having more and more around sustainability and things that you can do to kind of be more aware of the waste that you're producing and things like that. So people are definitely still interested, which is great.
We got a text from Michael in Watertown who says, I want to mend my own clothes, but at times I'm too tired or lazy to sew. We were just talking about that. Or repair his undependable sewing machine. Are there any fabric glues that are worth a damn? That's about what Michael says he has the time to commit to. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I wish I did, and I don't. That's kind of something I sort of stay away from fabric glue, just because, you know, I find that once you put glue on something, that's kind of it. The glue is on there forever. So the nice thing about like a fabric patch is you stitch it, and then if you continue to get wear in that area, you can take it off and restitch it, and you can layer things on. A lot of times once you use fabric glue, it becomes very hard to stitch through.
Yeah.
So I kind of stay away from it.
All right, stay away from it. We're talking with Jessamay Shay, Kill Collins, textile artist, educator, sustainable fashion designer. She is darning very well. I am theoretically learning how to darn. I think I'm darning the back side and the front side at the same time, which is clearly not what I'm supposed to be doing. But c'est la vie. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you have this like amazing pattern thing going on here. This like sort of check pattern thing happening. Is this you're going to darn across the other way?
Yeah,
as well?
yeah. If you want to grab that.
I want to stop screwing this whole thing up.
Here, let's get to the weaving part.
Oh, we're going to weave a little bit.
We're going to weave a little bit.
Okay.
Here, we're going to clip you here. Oh boy.
All right, so right now we've got, I have done something wrong. She is reattaching the thread to my needle. So this is the stuff I'm talking about here. I think this is like the barrier to entry thing. Like it feels like there's all this little stuff that you have to learn. Again, I mean, obviously, as you say, take a class is a good way to learn. But what else? Like, what are some good, actual, achievable first steps people who are interested in doing this could do? Like right now, could do today, could start thinking about.
I mean, there are great resources on the internet, like lots of great YouTube tutorials and websites and books that you can borrow from the library.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So,
nicely done.
You know, and even just like if you have just a needle and thread, there is so much that you can do. And I think a lot of people let themselves sort of be stopped by the idea of perfection. Yeah, like it has to be perfect. It has to be... you have to do it right.
Yeah.
And I think the nice thing about mending, and especially about visible mending, is that it's not about right. That's not the point, you know? So kind of not letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, just kind of starting. Because, again, like your previous guest said, if something is already broken, like...
What does it matter?
What does it matter?
Yeah,
like
you're
not going to make it worse.
Yeah.
Like if you can't wear it already... Like, and you start stitching it and you mess it up, like, well, you couldn't wear it in the first place.
Yeah.
So, you know, so try not to let the idea of something being perfect kind of get in the way of just starting.
I also wonder if you could talk a little bit, you know, you were mentioning that our first guest today talked about it. It seems to resonate with you, this idea that, like, once you have an object, you know, piece of clothing that you have done something to, whether it be repair or I'm looking at your jacket sitting on the table here. This is clearly not necessarily repair that you've done. I'm going to hold this up for folks who can see this. You've got just like cool decorative stitching on this.
Yeah, it actually is a repair.
Oh, this is a repair?
It is a repair.
Oh, amazing.
So this shirt was a uniform shirt, and there were patches glued on it, like whatever uniform patches. So there was like sticky stuff that would not come off no matter what I tried to do. So I covered it up.
There you go.
Yeah.
But there you go. So like, but that thing of why, like that notion that once you've added a little something to it, now you are invested in this piece of clothing in a different way. Why do you think, like, what is that phenomenon? What's going on?
I mean, people like to make things theirs, right? Yeah. Like, you like to sort of make your mark on things and personalize things. And, you know, people like things that reflect their personalities and kind of like say something to the outside world about this is who I am and this is what's important to me. So, and once you've put that time into it too, you know, like you're not just going to throw it away because you're like, well, like there's that idea of like the sunk cost. Like I've put time into it already.
What are items whether it be clothing or other textiles that people tend to have around the house that are good candidates for like taking a shot at a repair with? Like, are there like items that you see again and again and you're like, yes, that it is pretty typical. Like I'm thinking like a knee in a pair of jeans or something that wears out and like you maybe put a patch on it or whatever. But what are some things that are like good entry level, like I've got this, I'm going to give it a shot?
Yeah. I think I mean, anything that maybe, like, I wouldn't start on your favorite cashmere sweater maybe first.
Fair enough.
You know, start on, maybe you have like an old sweatshirt that you just wear around the house. Like, that's a good place to start practicing. Or even like just on a piece of fabric. Typically people come to class and they're like, I'm going to darn this thing that I totally love. And I'm like, well, why don't you practice first?
Why don't we learn how to walk before we run?
Exactly. So just, you know, even just like a little piece of fabric, just doing a little practice. And socks are great because if you mess them up, they're usually in your shoes.
Yeah, good point. And what about materials, which is to say, like, should I be thinking about, you know, what the item that I'm considering doing some repair on is made of? Is it easier to work on, say, like a cotton shirt than it is a polyester shirt? Or, you know, like maybe you said don't work on cashmere, maybe because it's high end and nice, not because it's hard to work with. But like, what should I be thinking in terms of the material itself?
Yeah, sort of conventional wisdom would say to match your material to your fabric. So if you're darning something that is made of cotton, you would use something like this cotton embroidery floss, whereas if you are darning your cashmere sweater, you might want to look for a cashmere yarn. So that's kind of like conventionally like how you might want to do it, but with visible mending, you can get a little bit more creative. So I have darned a cashmere sweater with cotton embroidery floss, so it has a little bit of a different texture. The cotton has a bit more of a sheen, whereas the cashmere is a bit fuzzier. So you can kind of start to play with those, you know, just the sort of material differences and get some cool effects that way. But you do want to think about, like, is my garment stretchy? Is it really thick and heavy? Is it really thin and drapey? So if it's thin and drapey, you might not want to use all 6 strands of the embroidery floss to darn it. You might want to break it down to just 3 strands.
See, but how did you know that you can break the strands down? Like, it's like you know so much. I don't know where to start if I'm just starting. You just start, is that it?
You just start.
Do it.
You just start. And you learn so much by doing, which I think a lot of people are intimidated by.
Yeah.
But don't be intimidated.
Just try.
Just try.
So
just try.
How has getting into this in the way that you have changed your life?
I mean, I've always been really into like fiber type of crafts. Like, I learned how to knit and crochet when I was like pretty young. I started sewing when I was pretty young. So it just really seems more just like a continuation of things that I've been doing for most of my life. But starting to teach has really changed my life.
How so?
Which is great. I've met so many people, and I think when someone first suggested that I start teaching, I was very intimidated by that.
Why?
Believe it or not, I can be a little shy.
Really? You don't say.
Yeah. So I was just a little intimidated to put myself out there in that way, and it's been really great to sort of overcome that fear of failure. I mean, we're all like afraid of failure in some way, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of getting over that and trusting that I have the skills and that I can share them with people and that people want to learn them from me, which is really rewarding. So.
And what about the notion of, you know, we were talking about this with our first guest too, but like the thing that you are showing, the thing that you are teaching people is empowering them.
Yes.
It is a tangible skill that they now have acquired or started to acquire from their class with you, and they can go do something they couldn't do before. That's got to feel cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
All right. We've been speaking with textile artist, educator, and sustainable fashion designer Jessamay Shay Kulhawik. Check out her website, jessamayshay.com, and High Energy Vintage, as we said, is in Somerville, right by the Market Basket. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks
for attempting to teach me how to darn. It was not your teaching. It was definitely my learning. After a quick break, it is Massachusetts Space Week. We're going to talk with the organizers behind tonight's Starfest celebration and stargazing event that's going on just down the way at Boston Common. I'm Edgar B. Harwick III. You are listening to The Curiosity Desk. We're live at the Boston Public Library and streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Arun Rolfe. Today on GBH's All Things Considered, another small Massachusetts school, Anna Maria College, is closing its doors. The CDC warns this could be one of the worst tick seasons in years. And from counterculture to cutting edge, psychedelics are back with a new federal push to fast-track research that could change how we treat PTSD, addiction, and more. It's all starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And the Cambridge Homes, a nonprofit, independent, and assisted living residence with a tradition of service, working with Cambridge area seniors for more than 130 years. You can learn more at thecambridgehomes.org/tradition. And Middlebury College in Middlebury, Vermont, dedicated to educating thoughtful, ethical, and globally informed leaders in the liberal arts, preparing them to address the world's most challenging problems. More at middlebury.edu.
You are listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH 89.7. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are live at the Boston Public Library, and we're streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. Now, if you've been at home listening to all this Earth Week coverage and you're thinking, to hell with Earth, we already wrecked it anyway, well, happy Space Week. Yes, it is also Space Week, and seriously, while it might seem counterintuitive that Space Week would happen when it's Earth Week, looking up at the stars can, of course, be a great way to remind ourselves just how precious life is here on this pale blue dot. Space Week here in Massachusetts culminates tonight with the inaugural Space Week Starfest, where local stargazing groups and astronomy enthusiasts of all levels are going to be gathering on Boston Common for a celestial celebration. We are joined right now by the organizers of Space Week. That would be Alissa Haddaji, founder and director of the Space Consortium and Massachusetts Space Week, and Ted Zhu, the communications officer for the Space Consortium, member of local astronomy groups, including Dark Sky, PopScope, and a whole bunch of others. Ted, Alissa, welcome to the Curiosity Desk. Happy Space Week. Alissa, who have you brought with you here today?
I brought Spacey, the mascot of Massachusetts Space Week.
So you have a mascot. And
yeah.
If you're watching on the YouTube stream, it's a plushy circle. What is Spacey?
It's a planet with pants because she has stuff to do.
Ah, it's a planet with pants because she has stuff to do. All right, you two, what's happening tonight, and what makes it such a big deal? What's going on Boston Common?
Yeah, we'll be having a lot of different astronomers, a lot of different stargazers, so many different groups from Massachusetts. You have to imagine that this is sort of a showcase for people to know the different groups that are doing this year long. And we're going to have telescopes, and we're inviting everybody to just show up, look at the stars, and learn more.
All right. So, Ted, where are you going to be setting up? Because Boston Common's pretty big. So if folks are thinking like, all right, this sounds like it's for me, where should they go to find you?
So we'll be by the baseball field. And if you can't find it, just look for the telescopes. There'll be a dozen or more telescopes will be set up. Like, what is this site? What are all these telescopes doing here? We're here to show the beauty of the night sky to people of Boston and allow them to experience a view that maybe they have not seen before.
So speaking of a view they have not seen before, one of the things that I hear, or I immediately think when I hear, all right, they're going to be in the city and they're going to be doing some stargazing, is can you even see the stars in the city? What about light pollution? So if you are a city dweller, it feels like, to a certain extent, maybe it's common to feel like gazing up at the night sky is outside of your reach.
That's
not true?
Right. It's a real challenge in these urban environments, and that's because of light pollution. And that's one of the reasons why we are organizing this stargazing event, is to bring awareness to this issue, which is people, governments, municipalities are starting to learn more and more about, is responsible outdoor lighting. We switched to LED lights in the last decade or two, and suddenly it's more energy efficient, but we're not realizing the proper way to set up and install outdoor lighting. And one of the things that we're trying to do is increase awareness on, the proper color temperature, the brightness level, installing shielding around the lights, and that's a way to really only use the right amount of light you need. and that also saves taxpayer money too.
So yeah, I mean, is this an education sort of initiative, so to speak, that is aimed at the average individual, or is it city leaders, or is it business people, or is it everybody?
It's everybody.
Yeah.
We created 3 different fields during Space Week, and this is green. That means for everyone. Obviously, we invite the youth to come and enjoy. And honestly, yes, there is light pollution, but you could imagine the impact when we showcase Jupiter. We can see planets from right here in Boston Commons. That's amazing.
That is pretty cool. What else is there? What are we going to see tonight? What is there to see up there? Jupiter sounds pretty good, but other things we're going to see tonight?
Jupiter, the moon will be there. Venus will be there. The Pleiades will be just setting, so we're going to try to see if we can get a view of that.
And what are the Pleiades?
It's a star cluster. It's something that's actually visible to the naked eye, even in urban environments, and we love showing people with binoculars or telescopes, but you don't need a telescope to enjoy the night sky. You can even just use binoculars.
Binoculars is a good tip. But speaking of telescopes, you said there's going to be telescopes there today. You say telescope, I think I get a picture in my mind of probably a 25-year-old telescope that you might get at like a Target or something like that. Is that the kind of telescopes we're talking about, or what are we talking about when we talk about telescopes?
We'll have a variety of different telescopes. Back then, actually, astronomers, they had to make their own telescope. They had to grind the glass, make the mirrors, coat the mirrors. It was quite a craft.
But people still do this, right?
That's
You
right.
are one of these people, are you not, Ted? So, I mean, you're burying the lead here, but you actually make your own telescopes.
I'm a part of a group called the Amateur Telescope Makers of Boston. It was founded in 1934. It's one of multiple groups around the country, around the world, trying to preserve the craft of making your own telescope, just like they used to do.
What's the value in making your own telescope? Is it a little bit like repairing your own clothes? You'll never throw that telescope away once you've made it yourself?
That's right. It just makes it a little more special, but also it connects you. I find it connects you to the people who have done this craft for centuries and the discoveries that were made through these telescopes.
Alissa, tell us more about the Space Consortium. What is the Space Consortium?
Well, you have to imagine a network of people, a network of space academics, researchers, astronomers, stargazers that volunteer to do space outreach together, but also to showcase various disciplines that you wouldn't think exist, like space law or space medicine or space economics.
Space medicine?
Yeah, there's such a thing as space medicine. Boston is a big center for that.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of is it medicine to be taken in space, or is it using space as a place to experiment about medicine? Like, what is space medicine?
All of the above. You have to think of the health of the astronauts, but all the research that has been done on the International Space Station to develop more treatment for cancer.
Fascinating.
All of this goes into space medicine.
All right, that's pretty cool. So how do you sell it? Like, what have you been doing on during Space Week? How have you two been celebrating this week of space?
Well, it's 100 events across Massachusetts, so it's a lot.
That is a lot. And you've had to be at every single one of those 100 events?
Luckily not, but we are trying to coordinate because what started like something between faculty to teach students the different disciplines grew into something statewide where a lot of different institutions, mostly public libraries and museums, are doing something special because it's school vacation week. So we want all ages to discover different type of the space sector.
You're listening to The Curiosity Desk. We're talking with Alissa, Haddaji, and Ted Ju about Space Week. How did you get into, Ted, how did you get into the world so much so that you are grinding lenses for your own telescopes? Has this been a long journey for you?
It's very funny how this story all started because I really was into total solar eclipses, and that's different from regular solar eclipses. There's different categories of total solar eclipses. As you know, the total solar eclipse is the beautiful one, and it happened 2 years ago on April 8th.
That's right. I was in Vermont.
Wow.
I was in Vermont and witnessed the total solar eclipse. It was the first time I saw it. And if I'm being honest, I was excited about it because I like space stuff, and I went up there. But I was also like, because people are like, it's amazing, it's life-changing. And I was like, I mean, how great is it really going to be? And then it happened, and I was like, oh my God, it was as great as everybody said it was. I could see why people see one and then start to travel to see more. Is this what happened to you?
That's right. You don't know how beautiful it is until you see it yourself. I saw it in 2017, and when I saw just how beautiful the site was, I decided to organize a trip. I chartered 3 coach buses for the 2024 eclipse. I brought 135 people up to Waterbury, Vermont, where we got to see it. And since then, I've just been hooked on organizing astronomy events, bringing the beauty of the night sky or eclipse to the world.
So I want to talk about that notion of the beauty of the night sky, or there's all this evidence, for time, for as long as there's been time, that like when people start to get into it, it is the kind of thing that you can really get into, just like learning about what's up there, looking up there, seeing the stuff. But I think there's still a lot of people who are kind of like, meh, why should I bother doing this? Like, it's kind of always there. Maybe it's nice to look up once in a while. Oh, yeah, there's the moon. Cool. But, like, what is the value? Like, what really is the value in doing things like an event on Boston Common, or, like, trying to bring this to people in the city? Why do you take the effort and the time and the energy to do it?
Well, it connects people. Everybody feels something about space. Some people might not care at all about, going to outer space, but at the same time, everybody who would, get sick would like to have a cure, and so they can appreciate what is discovered in space medicine. Discovering any type of disciplines that connects to what interests you, or any type of activity that brings you to more curiosity and more questions, that's what we want to bring.
More curiosity,
yes.
We love that. And we want to say thanks to Alissa, Haddaji, and Ted Ju. Thanks for talking to us all about Space Week. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And speaking of stars, there's Jared Bowen from the Culture Show up here on the dais. What you got on the show today, Jared?
Well, of course, it's our Week in Review show, so we're going to be talking about the Michael Jackson biopic that is out in theaters today. I was hoping you would say that. It tells his story, but there's a big part of the story that's missing from the film. You can probably guess what that is and why we're talking about it. We'll talk about toxic fandom. This is something that's happening with a lot of celebrities right now, where they're getting attacked by their fans who now have direct access in this social media. And we'll look at a big, huge, pivotal series in the UK that is coming to an end.
All right, that is Jared Bowen and the Culture Show, Arts and Culture Week in Review, coming here in just about 2 minutes. So folks at the library, don't go anywhere, and you listening at home, don't go anywhere either. As for us, that's it. The Curiosity Desk is produced by Rachel Armani, Aiden Connolly, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Lawson, Nicole Garcia, Patty Daniels, and Jamie Bologna light up our night sky. Our engineers, John the Claw Parker. Special thanks to Andrew Massawa, the BPL crew, the folks at the Newsfeed Cafe, and the fabulous team at the Lennox Hotel. Thank you to all of you who came out to see us in the library. If you have not, I hope you'll do it next week. We'll be right back here on Monday. If you can't wait that long, check out the podcast version of the show. Until next time, I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show. Next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Boston Ski and Tennis, helping families stay active and outdoors this spring. Offering a wide range of tennis and pickleball products and services. With locations in Newton and Westboro, or online at bostonskiandtennis.com. This Saturday night, find out if you're a secret trivia whiz. Test your knowledge and play along at home with a new episode of High School Quiz Show. Tomorrow at 6 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Culture Show News Desk, I'm Henry Santoro. The island of Nantucket celebrates the 50th annual Daffodil Festival this weekend. If you've never experienced Daffy Weekend, as locals call it, it's a sea of yellow goodness and fun from one end of the island to the other. Almost like the whole island comes out for the antique car show and parade, where every classic car, and there are a lot of them, is decorated to the hilt in yellow daffodils. There's a must-see daffodil hat pageant along with a number of art exhibits and presentations. One is the Clothesline Project at the Nantucket Athenaeum. It's an emotionally moving art display consisting of T-shirts decorated by local survivors of domestic and sexual violence to honor survivors, help with the healing process, and raise awareness to the issue of domestic and sexual violence. The Nantucket Current has a full list of the weekend's events with photos from past years. And it's New Music Friday, and we tip our cowboy hat to 85-year-old Ringo Starr, whose new LP, Long, Long Road, is out today. Here's the title track. It's Ringo's 22nd solo album and his second co-written and produced by the great T-Bone Burnett.
We all can be.
There are 10 songs that feature collaborations with Sheryl Crow, Molly Tuttle, St. Vincent, and Billy Strings, who recently broke his leg while skateboarding. Ringo Starr and his all-star band start a West Coast tour at the end of May. Unfortunately, there are no East Coast cities on this tour, at least not yet. That's this edition of the GBH News Weekly Friday Afternoon Culture Cast. I'm Henry Santoro. Next up, The Culture Show with my friend and yours, Jared Bowen, live at the Boston Public Library.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, Michael Jackson's biography contains two histories. The King of Pop, whose cultural footprint was epic from his influence on fashion, the music industry, and the very idea of pop stardom. But he was also the man accused of child sexual abuse, allegations that permanently altered his public standing. Now a new biopic celebrates his ascent while sidestepping the alleged assaults, igniting debate over myth-making, omission, and memory. From there, having a celebrity crush once meant Elvis fan clubs, Beatles newsletters, and lining up overnight for concert tickets. Now, social media has collapsed the distance between star and audience, with devotion curdling into harassment and entitlement. With fresh fan pile-ons back in the headlines, we look at the consequences of fandom gone toxic. Then, in the final days of World War II, fire wiped out hundreds of masterpieces in Berlin. Now, curators are using old photographs to rebuild those lost works digitally, turning restoration into an act of remembrance and recovery. And one of the UK's great television touchstones is the documentary series Up, which returned to the same Britons every 7 years from childhood onward. It became more than a TV experiment. It became a portrait of class, fate, and the changing soul of England itself. But now, 70 Up brings that remarkable project to an end. We take on that and more right now on our Arts and Culture Week in Review.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Welcome to The Culture Show, live on 89.7 from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm Jared Bowen.
I'm Callie Crossley.
I'm Joyce Kulhawik.
We're going over the week's top arts and culture headlines, starting with Michael, the new biopic about Michael Jackson. Here is a taste of the film from its trailer.
Let me tell you something. In this life, you're either a winner or you're a loser. Y'all want to work in a steel mill like me for the rest of your days?
No, sir.
Yeah, because I sure as hell don't. Y'all willing to fight for it?
Yes, sir.
I need to hear you a little louder. Y'all willing to fight for it?
Yes, sir.
Ready whenever you are, Michael.
Do you know what I'm after? You want to be the biggest star in the world?
Well, we'll get to Joyce's mini review as we talk about this film in just a second. Of the three of us, she has seen it. But here's what you didn't hear in the trailer, and that's the sexual abuse allegations against Michael Jackson, which, of course, is now a big part of his biography because they were pretty plentiful toward the end of his life. But a really strange thing happened in the making of this film because they shot it all. They had a third act, essentially, that did begin to address these allegations, which I should back up and say that makes it interesting because it is Michael Jackson's estate, which is behind this film. We'll talk about the implications of that. But then they went and recognized through legal documents in one of the settlements with one of his accusers that they could not depict that accuser on film. That was according to the settlement. So they had to go back and reshoot, and this is why it's been delayed a year, and now it's out in theaters, and again, does not address these sexual allegations at all. Instead, it goes from 1966 to 1988. If you're tracking that, that's him about the age of 10, all the way to Bad. Joyce, you saw the film.
I saw the film yesterday. I blew off something else and ran to the movie theater. And, you know, I have to say, I have a bunch of different impressions. Number one, it's more music video than movie. The music sequences are extraordinary, and the director, Antoine Fuqua, has, you know, made his name in music videos and also some thrillers, not that thriller, like Equalizer, Training Day with Denzel, et cetera, et cetera. And it focuses on child abuse, in a sense, but not pedophilia. And we're talking about an abusive relationship that his father, Joseph, had with him, beating him in front of his siblings and really abusing all of them and disciplining them to perform better and better and better. And these scenes are incredible. Coleman Domingo was quite scary in the part. All the performances, I would say, are terrific. This kid, Jafar, I'm just blanking on his name. Jafar Jackson, of course, Jafar Jackson. He's Jermaine's son. He is Michael. He is remarkable in the part. And the person who plays the young Michael, this Giuliano Cruvaldi, is extraordinary. And as extraordinary as they are, they're still not quite Michael, but they are good enough to actually give me goosebumps watching them in these extended music sequences. The flip side is the dialogue is rudimentary. None of the characters are really developed. Certainly none of the psychology is deeply developed. The chimp is really strange and digitized. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of bizarre. It's a really deep, deep fake. So you get a glimpse, though, of how eccentric Michael was and how insulated he was, and you feel very empathic about him and with him because of the kind of very insulated experience he had and the abuse suffered and his extraordinary talent, which really did separate him from pretty much anybody else on the planet. So I had mixed feelings about it, but this is clearly not the film that Fuqua set out to make.
So Callie, let's bring you in and knowing this, how do we feel about going into this film? Because this is yet another example of looking at the artist and the figure with whom you can have empathy because you understand his childhood versus what we're not, the rest of the story that we're not seeing.
I think that Joyce has put her finger on it in this way. I remember right after Michael Jackson died and that film came out, This Is It. I mean, I was all just bopping my head. Now, at that point, we know everything, you know, and the whole, it's such,
You're
his
life
life is
that concert film.
That concert film.
He had already
his
shot.
life as an artist is so impactful, and his talent was so big. You know the facts, and you can, because you're in the middle of that music, go right into the jukebox musical part of it and try to put aside some of the other stuff. And we're at the point, as you're saying, where we're separating artists, some of us, from some of the deeds that are just impossible to forget. So I think it's a travesty, and as Jack Hamilton of Slate said, it's really an immoral film to have this story of his life be told without any reference to this. Here's the other piece that I would mention. The filmmaker who did Leaving Neverland, what's his name, is Dan Reed. His film at HBO can no longer be accessed because there was a contract with HBO that they signed that said they wanted to have a concert airing on HBO, and there was a clause in it that said there can therefore be no other film conversation about Michael Jackson being a bad guy. And so you can't even access Leaving Neverland to see what the story is all about.
That's what becomes so complicated about this, is the business of it all. So clearly you have the Jackson family behind this, but not all of the Jackson family, which is a whole other, because there's a whole other ripple. Only 3 of the siblings are portrayed, including not Janet.
Yes.
So as producers, they're investors, they're part of this film. There is a suggestion that if this film does well, and Variety was just reporting that it's going to do very well, there are high expectations for this weekend's box office, they're likening it to Bohemian Rhapsody and that film's success, which would then lead to other films. And if you can't represent the accuser that would come into play for this period of Michael Jackson's life, then maybe they would fold in, since they did apparently allow this whole third act that we'll never see to be shot. Maybe they will address this. So it's all very bizarre circumstances to also imagine the family trotting this out. And at the end of the day, there are also allegations, because in his lifetime, there was ultimately no conviction.
Exactly. Allegations. The story at the end, it comes up on the screen. It says, his story continues. And I think Nia Long and Coleman Domingo have spoken to that there's probably going to be a sequel. This has got many, many layers. I mean, if we step way back, in my head, I'm going, okay, 2 things can be true. He can be an extraordinary, one-of-a-kind genius, and he can also be a pedophile. People are complicated, but that this film just focuses here in this way, I'm going to look at as just part of the story. I've taken the good parts out of it, and then looking to the rest to see what happens here. And I mean, that's, and obviously we cannot ignore that the family being behind it as executive producers. I mean, this is clearly, hagiography. This is clearly propaganda. This is they want to boost the, the whole Michael Jackson oeuvre and his reputation, and make sure that it's solid going forward, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if, history takes the same path that it's taking in so many other arenas, we don't want to forget. We don't want to totally rewrite, but maybe they're hoping they can rewrite, at least minimize some of the negative stuff.
Let's go back to the business that you mentioned, Jared, because after MJ the musical came out, the numbers went up on all of the music that we're familiar with. And so they're already planning that in addition to the ticket sales, the numbers will just shoot through the roof of people trying to access that music yet again and playing it, and it'll be everywhere. What I think is interesting is that Dan Reed, the filmmaker who did Leaving Neverland, is going to cover in November the trial with Wade Robson and James Safechuck. Those are the 2 featured in Leaving Neverland. This is after years of appeals and pushbacks. There is a civil trial coming up with their stories in November. What will that do? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm curious to see if Fuqua actually shot this film originally. The first stuff that he shot it with starts in 1993 as the police are raiding Neverland because of the allegations brought by Jordan Chandler and his family. Yeah. And then they had to go back to the tune of $15 million last June and reshoot all those scenes again because, as you say, Jared, there was no depiction allowed of him. But that's where Fuqua was going to begin this story.
And before we move on, if audiences are trying to understand the scale of money they're talking about, when Michael Jackson died, there was a $500 million debt that they were able to turn around through the music, through the musical, now the film, and building. Well, next, fandom turns toxic. Celebrity obsessions used to play out in private rituals. Fans bought the magazines, the posters, and sometimes waited hours outside a theater or arena just to catch a glimpse of the person they adored. They were all relationships from a distance, but now that barrier is gone. Social media allows fans direct access to stars and audiences, and recent incidents involving celebrities associated with heated rivalry, The Pit and Percy Jackson, reveal how easily fan fervor mutates into harassment and abuse. We are talking about this week because this is reaching a crescendo right now with this pile-up of really bizarre and horrific things that are happening. I think most notably and most recently in the Percy Jackson situation, where you have the star of Percy Jackson who is a teenager and who wants to go to the prom but can't because his fans are targeting any date that he might bring. So these young women are being targeted. These teenage girls are being targeted by fans because they don't want to see him matched up with anybody else. That's just but one of many examples that have happened now that the barriers have been brought down, and social media allows not only direct access to the celebrities, but also to everybody else that they can galvanize and whip up this army.
I think you want to also emphasize with that story, particularly the actor's name is Walker Scobell. They don't know who he was going to ask. So they try to identify any young woman, as he put in a statement, that where it's in close proximity to him, and deliver not just hate mail, death threats. That's what we're talking. I mean, it's shocking to me.
Yeah, this is exactly, and you've named the villain. It is social media, which empowers people anonymously, the cowards that they are, to band together and then gang up on somebody and cyberbully them into death and suicide and, you know, curtailing their activities and, you know, warping their brains and their lives. And
imagining relationships that don't exist.
Exactly,
Yes.
because that line between, you know, reality, obviously, and anything digital, virtual is quickly disappearing if it hasn't disappeared already. No, it has pretty much disappeared at this point. So I get so irritated and angry. I want to take these kids and shake them and their parents and say, look, this stuff is not real. Get off social media and take back your life. I mean, take back your choices. And forgive me, I'm going to get all English teachery here, but I keep thinking of this phrase in the poem Rudyard Kipling's If.
Yes.
And I wrote it out. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, it's all an imposter. Triumph and disaster. What people say to you, what people think of you, none of that matters. We need to help people, children, where their brains are so malleable, be grounded in something solid and understand that all this trolling is just so much
I wish
noise.
it was only young people. With heated rivalry, there's some grown folk
Well,
who've lost
some
their
people
minds.
never grow up, Callie.
Let me explain what's happening with heated rivalry, because this is really extraordinary, and this is where I have a great deal of sympathy for the actors, because I haven't always had sympathy for celebrities. You know, Brad Pitt, he knows his way into this. He's been around this long enough. Maybe or maybe not, he's developed a thick skin, but certainly he knows by now the industry he's in. But then you have heated rivalry where you really had these stars who were made overnight. Nobody expected this, including them, expected the success of this show. So here they are, new to celebrity, and then they're being targeted. One of the actors is being targeted because he may be dating one of the younger actors on the show, and they have something like a 14-year age difference or something. So suddenly they're calling the older actor a pedophile for possibly dating a 26-year-old. In what world does that make him a pedophile? It certainly doesn't. The Asian actor on the show is being trolled for being Asian. He's trolled for having MAGA perspectives, which are dubious wherever they're being dug up. I mean, and he's being trolled for queer baiting because he may be straight. Have we never seen acting and people portraying another character and another sensibility and another life? Yeah. It's just so bizarre. And then people get whipped up into what I call the army, this frenzy, because they become so malleable. And to your point, Callie, yeah, they're not necessarily just children doing this. There are adults who are targeting people.
Yeah, because people somehow didn't develop a certain kind of sense of self and certain kind of values, et cetera, et cetera. I'm thinking about some stars who've talked about when they came up, you know, people who might be 50 and 60 now, saying, wow, if we had come up during the time of social media, my life would have been hell. Because they come up overnight so quickly. Right. It blows up so fast. Who can deal with that?
Well, let's flip this now a little bit, because it does go both ways. But to get into this, maybe we should take a look at Patti LuPone, somebody who has been around a little bit. This is from an episode of Variety's Actors on Actors. And here's Patti LuPone talking to another one who knows this, George Clooney, recounting calling out an audience member for texting during a performance of Shows for Days at Lincoln Center Theater.
Anyway, but I would shake the first row's hands. So I skipped them, went up to her. She put the phone down, but went up to her and put my right hand on her shoulder and my left hand in her lap and palmed her phone. And the audience saw it, and they went, some of them gasped, some of them applauded, but I went on stage and went, I got the phone!
Oh, that's fantastic.
And the stage manager, who was up in the gods someplace, went, yay!
So that's Patti LuPone, who does this quite often.
I'm
Things
in
of
her
this
camp.
nature. But she's doing something very physical because she's in the moment. But we've seen other celebrities, like an actor from The Pit and Chappell Roan recently, who all of these accusations were levied against Chappell Roan for allegedly hating children because one looked in her direction and her bodyguard went over and scolded that child. Well, it turned out it wasn't her bodyguard, but this was ginned up, and now there's this perception out there that she hates children. So she had to take to social media and clap back. So celebrities are being put in this position as well.
And I'm thinking about Rihanna's house being blown up by a woman who claims some kind of relationship with her. These parasocial relationships that people are taking to be real
Incredibly
can
dangerous.
be dangerous.
I'm happy when I see an actress fight back. I remember being in the theater when Katharine Hepburn was on stage and the audience was under strict, requirement not to take any photographs. And of course, some idiot snapped a photo. That woman came out after the first act. During the intermission, all of a sudden the curtains parted, and there was Katharine Hepburn, and she turned around and pointed her finger up at the box I was sitting in. I hadn't taken the picture, but it was a guy right near me, and she said, "You put that camera away and get out of that box." And it was extraordinary, but I have to say, we need to speak up, clap back, do what needs to be done, and embarrass people if they act like fools.
Sometimes they can't be embarrassed, Joyce, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. That person actually was and left. They never saw Act 2.
Well, that's because it was the 1920s and they just had their big brownie camera.
Oh, Jerry!
Wow. So mean.
Actually, it was 1902. There you go.
Well, we go from fan fervor. We're now entering a fever dream of 1980s style and sensibility. We're cruising into the sun-glazed, synth-soaked world of Miami Vice, a place of pastel swagger, speedboats, and neon nights. Hollywood is revving the hit TV series back to life with Miami Vice 85, a new feature film starring Michael B. Jordan as Tubbs and Austin Butler as Crockett. It's due in theaters next summer, but we thought this was worth talking about.
Yes.
Callie and I are ready to pass out.
I'm ready to pass out. This is what I refer to as Yes, Jesus casting. Oh, my God. Michael B. Jordan and Austin Butler, first of all, they are just gorgeous. Look at them. They're gorgeous. But they're actually good actors.
They are.
They're very good actors.
Well, one is fresh off an Oscar win, Michael B. Jordan.
There you go. But Austin Butler's performance in Elvis, I mean, these are actual
Oscar-nominated, phenomenal
I
actor.
know. They're really good actors. So this could be elevated. What was Eye Candy and a fun series, which I enjoyed back in the day, this could be elevated to something else in terms of, excellent entertainment in their hands.
I'm wondering what it's going to be. I mean, certainly when this happened, I think it was 1984, the mid-'80s, we'd never seen anything quite like that before. It was so cool. They were like two little popsicles, these guys. They were just adorable.
That was the atmosphere. But
it was. It was
not
tropical.
too much plot, but,
It was sultry. They were gorgeous.
Absolutely.
And the way it was edited, it was really sleek and cool. So that was that wonderful vibe. I don't know, now what is Miami Vice 85?
Well, it got an
look
Oscar
like,
nominee, Dan Gilroy, writing the script.
Yeah.
So,
and Joseph Kosinski is directing it. He did Top Gun.
Yep.
He did F1. He also did the Tron Legacy films.
So a lot of action.
This is a man who also knows nostalgia, and it's very significant that it's Miami Vice 85, which is very significant because there was the remake with Colin Farrell, and suddenly I'm blinking.
Who can remember?
On the other
Move
person.
on.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
they weren't that good.
It was Jamie Foxx. He was the other one.
Oh, that matters.
So this brings us back into 1985, and we consistently talk on this show this element of nostalgia. Everybody's just going back to times that they can have a physical connection to something or better memories of something.
Well, that fashion is back. Yes. That's for sure. The 80s fashion is back.
The fashion is back, and also this was the movie. This was the series that brought these music video-esque scenes into television, because of course this is when MTV was, or MIT, and MIT was not, Jared, in the music video business, but MTV was rising, and this was incorporating a new visual language on television.
Well, I will say that I want to give credit to Jan Hammer, who I just realized was the one that did the theme music. He played all the instruments. He wrote and scripted that. In my mind, it was Phil Collins, in the air tonight. He did have that song on the show and appeared on the show. Yep. But Jan Hammer needs to get his credit for bum, 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 bum at the beginning.
Exactly.
It's excellent.
I went back and I watched that scene last night with Phil Collins in the air tonight. That was it was just so sexy. And it was really, again, music video.
It's going to be good.
Television.
It's going to be good.
We'll see. We will see what happens.
It's going to be good, Joyce. I don't want to hear that.
I don't get... I'll be the judge of that.
Well, the other part of it that's going to be interesting is, remember, they were going after drug kingpins and things like that in Miami at that time, and this was the war on drugs was rising, and we saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
They didn't win it.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting to see how they go back to it. Well, coming up, one of the most influential British television shows of all time is coming to an end. We'll find out which one next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
I'm Arun Rolfe. Today on GBH's All Things Considered, another small Massachusetts school, Anna Maria College, is closing its doors. The CDC warns this could be one of the worst tick seasons in years. And from counterculture to cutting edge, psychedelics are back with a new federal push to fast-track research that could change how we treat PTSD, addiction, and more. It's all starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the Cambridge Homes, a nonprofit, independent, and assisted living community in Cambridge, offering residents supportive services as well as cultural, educational, and social programs. thecambridgehomes.org/tradition.
And Schneider Electric, bringing sustainability advisory services to the Boston Athletic Association and committed to helping advance energy tech worldwide. Proud sponsor of The Long Run, Wednesdays at 12:30 on GBH 89.7. And Coco Badakian & Sons, offering antique rugs since 1938. A range of hand-knotted, modern, and antique oriental rugs are available to view in their showroom at 808 Main Street, Winchester, or online at cocorug.com.
Listen to GBH 89.7, read GBH Daily, and watch the Boston Public Radio live stream. However you get your news, find it on the GBH News app. Download it today on the App Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to The Culture Show, live on 89.7 from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm Jared Bowen. I'm joined by Culture Show co-host Callie Crossley and Culture Show contributor Joyce Kulhawik. She's an Emmy Award-winning arts and entertainment reporter, president of the Boston Theater Critics Association, and you can find her reviews on joyceschoices.com. If you're just tuning in, it's our Arts and Culture Week in Review, which includes a major recovery and restoration effort. In the final days of World War II, hundreds of paintings hidden away in Berlin for protection were destroyed in 2 fires. The massive loss included works by artists including Caravaggio, Rubens, and Van Dyck. With the destruction of those paintings, a remarkable part of Europe's artistic heritage literally went up in flames. Now they're being brought back in digital form. Berlin's Gemälde Gallery has used old photographs to recreate images of the lost masterpieces. The museum is turning a story of destruction into one of remembrance and rebirth. Well, this is exciting because what they were doing all the way up until 1944 is whenever a new piece would enter the collection, they would photograph it. So they're working from these original glass plates to create these images, glass plates that at the time they would have used for publications to spread word about the shows, or yes, there was a gift shop even then because they would make postcards out of them. But in this case, it's allowed us to now have access to these works that have been lost. And I think this is very significant because if you think about it, you can't go to every museum in the world to see these works in person. So many of us are able to see so many great artworks in the world because they're online and will now have access to them.
Well, an excellent use of digital techniques. That's the first thing. So they re-photograph these glass negatives in the room of the archive so that I don't have to move the glass negatives, which is really important because they're quite fragile. And then from there, make the digital resurrection, if you will.
I like that, the digital resurrection.
Yes, of these pieces. So, I mean, that's quite an amazing thing about what this technology can allow, and I bet it's going to be pretty crisp in ways that we wouldn't have been able to do before.
Well, exactly. I was reading about this, and I want to just echo what you just said about this is a great use of AI. This is a great use of the virtual world. We don't need people to write songs. We need people to write songs. We don't need AI writing a song or making a painting or acting in a movie. What we need is what is happening here. These glass plates were actually photographed in high res, so they're going to be able to be seen like they've never been seen before, and I guess you'll be able to enhance certain parts of them and also zoom in. So in fact, this is what AI does really, really well, and it's going to spread the work of real artists like Veronese and Van Dyck and Caravaggio and Rubens, so that we can all see them and share them. This is a remarkable thing. And right, we can't get to every museum in the world, but this is going to be maybe almost better than being there on some level. But, nothing, I guess, really matches standing next to the canvas that the artist created.
Well, I think it's also so exciting and heartening, but also a little bit heartbreaking. When I was going down the rabbit hole in all of this, preparing for this segment, and I recognized the number of paintings that were lost in World War II, either deliberately destroyed by the Nazis because they were considered degenerate art. There was this gorgeous Van Gogh painting, a self-portrait of him walking with canvas and easel through these fields. I didn't even know it existed. So all of it reminds you of how much we've been robbed through having conflict in the world over. We're in the middle of conflict now. We on the show have already talked about what may be lost in Iran. We'll know at some point in the future when we can take stock. And this was an instance of all of these paintings being put together so that they could be safe. And then there was this fire in this tower where they were being stored. So,
but at least now these are being preserved, so we can sort of take some comfort in knowing that this project is going to preserve what we have up to this point.
It's going to be great for scholars in addition to those of us who are just consumers of great artists and art.
Well, next we move to one of the UK's great television touchstones. It's the documentary series Up. It's an ongoing project which since 1964 has returned to the same small group of Britons every 7 years from childhood onward. More than a TV experiment, it became a portrait of class, fate, and the evolving soul of England itself. Now, 70 Up will bring a close to that remarkable project. Asif Kapadia will direct the final chapter for ITV later this year after the death of longtime series steward Michael Apted. This was recently voted in the UK as one of the most significant broadcasts in the last 50 years, people considering this project holistically, where they identified something on the nature of 20 kids around Britain across all social strata. Not a lot of women, who grew up, at the time they were boys and girls, so not a lot of girls, not a lot of diversity from when they started in the 1960s. But as I said, they've gone back every 7 years, and because you had Michael Apted leading this, he had this familiarity, so they became this kind of one cast, and as he would go back every 7 years to update it, the nation became pretty wrapped in what was happening. To have a taste of this, we have a small clip. Here's Andrew Brackfield, one of the children featured in the documentary 7 Up and its subsequent iterations, reflecting on his life after a successful career as a lawyer in the 2019 documentary 63 Up.
I read the Financial Times. I'm going to Charterhouse. And after that, Trinity Hall, Cambridge.
Looking back, I would have liked to have spent a bit more time with the family, rather than giving so much priority to work. When you're young and trying to make your career, it all seems terribly important to you to spend that extra few hours at the office. But in the scheme of things, it probably would have been better to, go to the school play or the sports day or whatever.
That's pretty amazing in the UK, and we have access to it here in the United States now, too, to see these full lifespans play out.
Well, I was going to say, you were talking about the impact in Britain, but when I first interacted with it, I just felt it was a global piece that just spoke in so many universalities, if I can make up a word. None of the kids in the group really had anything close to my life, but yet I was drawn to their stories and that class division. So this guy, of course, was somebody who knew he was going to go to private school, but in the group are kids that, had no chance of that. They were working class kids and maybe sub-working class. 11 of the original 14 are still alive. 2 of them have died. And of course, Michael Apted, who was the original filmmaker, died in 2021. But I'm telling you, if you've never seen it, start at 7-Up and go through. It is amazing. And I think to myself, there are all these exercises now that we do in groups called, what would you say to your younger self? Here's a group of people who already know they saw their younger self is captured.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
They can look back and see who they were and how they are now. I could not take my eyes off this. I mean, I'm a person who likes looking at the photo albums of people I don't know. I just like to look at who the children are and then see if I can trace resemblances, or I find this very mysterious. This actually started out as some kind of a social experiment. Right. It was really supposed to be looking at the socioeconomic classes in Great Britain, and the idea was that if you were born of a certain class that you would probably stay there. And actually they did find that a lot of the kids in the working class milieu seldom got out of that, although some of the other kids did. But what was also revealed was that as determinative as your socioeconomic class was, there were so many other serendipitous things that could happen in your life.
And did.
In terms of your mental health, your emotional health, just sort of odd occurrences and luck. And
bad luck.
And bad luck, exactly. And the way Apted framed it up, he started out as a social experiment, but it became a lot more personal, he said, as time went on. And he started to see that there were connections between people. And he actually kind of got a little pushback from some people who felt that he had framed them up unfairly. One of the women, as a matter of fact. He said he didn't anticipate feminism. So they only chose 4 women to be in this series, thinking that they wouldn't have as
four
interesting.
4 young girls at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
4
yes,
young girls.
Yes.
Because they didn't think they'd have this many career choices or the vagaries of being a woman in the world. But that really kind of surprised him. He also said one other interesting thing. He said, I hope to do 84 up when I'll be 99. But unfortunately, he died in 2021. So this Asif Kapadia, who did that wonderful documentary, Amy, is going to be the director. And if you remember that doc, it was extraordinary.
About Amy Winehouse.
Yes, that was
Amy
very good.
Winehouse.
Your expression you were looking for is, give me a boy at the age of 7 and I will show you the man.
Exactly. A Jesuit motto, actually.
Well, and speaking of universality, this wasn't, I don't think we've made this clear, this wasn't intended to be a series that would document these lives. This was supposed to be a one-off. And then somebody 7 years later, or before 7 years later, had the idea, well, what if we went back and checked in on those kids?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a big span between 7 and 14, and they did, and that's when I think it became really universal, because they realized how many people were interested in all of their lives. They wanted the same questions answered that the filmmakers wanted answered. Have we moved out of the class system in Britain? And I think they got their answer through this. And interestingly, as I was reading about this, we didn't really see a reason why they're stopping now. But over the years of the 14, Callie, you mentioned some have chosen not to participate, then they came back into it. All of them, well, I think many of them have expressed some level of regret for having participated in it, just because they didn't necessarily have editorial control, or it exposed them into popular culture in a way they didn't anticipate. How could you when you're 7 and you keep signing up for this? But at any rate, it's a fabulous social experiment, and I would be surprised if we don't see 77 up.
Well, here's what I thought. Here's my thought about why they are stopping it now. Because from a poetic, artistic, 7 up to 70 up is kind of a bookend.
I suppose. But I'd want to go farther.
Well, I do too, but I'm just saying from an artistic, bookending, that's a pretty good run.
Well, the other thought that I had is why didn't they introduce a new roster at somewhere along the lines?
Like
so
the
that
kids
this,
of the people.
This could keep continuing into the future.
Or
I
it could be
actually
the kids
think
of the
it's
people.
fascinating to just stay with these people because to me it hits on something, as we've all said, it's transcended any kind of social experiment. It is now at something existential. What is human nature? And this is a chance to look at it in a way that reality TV, it sort of predates reality TV and goes much more deeply into who these people are.
And that's also a nurture versus nature situation, too.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean by what I'm saying. I meant introduce them alongside, not to take the place of, so that people 70 years from now can look back at the kids of 2026 and think, what was the world then? How did the world change them? Of course, they'd be
you
played.
need a committed filmmaker to begin with.
Maybe Kapadia's the guy, though. Who knows?
Well, it's very, very poignant, and as we have all said, people should check it out. Well, coming up, RuPaul's Drag Race has a new queen. Season 18 winner Mikey Meeks fought through early criticism, then stormed the finale to claim the crown. That's next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
Environment ministers from the G7 are meeting in Paris, but they are avoiding a certain phrase, climate change. Organizers say they don't want to anger the U.S. given President Trump's stance on the issue.
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion.
That story next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Modern Pest Services, providing integrated pest management for Boston homes and businesses. Modern Pest uses a prevention-first approach to seasonal pests to help target the source of the problem. Learn more at modernpest.com. And the Museum of Fine Arts, presenting Framing Nature, Gardens, and Imagination. This new exhibition of beloved and never-before-seen treasures centers gardens across time, place, and cultures. More at mfa.org. And Framingham State University, where the strength of a Commonwealth begins with access to opportunity. At FSU, students examine evidence and serve the public good. Framingham State University. Live to the truth. Learn more at framingham.edu.
Your story matters. So does your confidentiality. Securely message your tips to GBH News on the Signal app. Visit gbhnews.org/investigations for more information. gbhnews.org/investigations.
I'm Jared Bowen. If you're just tuning in, this is The Culture Show coming to you live from our studio at the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm joined by co-host Callie Crossley and Culture Show contributor Joyce Kulhawik. If you're just tuning in, it's our Arts and Culture Week in Review, which includes a new queen wearing the crown on RuPaul's Drag Race. Season 18 winner Mikey Meeks, an Orlando performer who weathered early criticism and then surged at the end, won the final 3 main challenges, nailed a Drew Barrymore impersonation, and turned herself into the newest star in the show's long line of reinventions. Here is Mikey Meeks, winner of season 18 on RuPaul's Drag Race on Good Morning America, discussing her performance style.
Mikey Meeks is the drag ingenue. I'm a recovering theater kid, I like to say. And my aesthetic comes between a little old Hollywood glamour and party girl. So some Ava Gardner mixed with Charlie XCX. And the theatrics is the main component.
So big conversation this week on the television side. I can bring into the conversation how it's on the theater side, but let's start with the TV side, Callie.
Well, it's a $200,000 win, but along the way, each time you win a challenge, you also get a tip, as RuPaul would say. I mean, this has become a cultural episode, and all of the kind of comments and some of the lexicon that people use come from this show. It's also a space where folks can get into the interior lives of people along the LGBTQ plus spectrum, because there is a lot of discussion, very serious discussion, among all the other challenges. So it turns out that you hear some heartbreaking stories, and it's really tough. Most of the contestants have families that they don't talk to. Mikey Meeks is quite lucky in that both his parents have always been successful and showed up at the finale. And it's just been a great way for people in the drag race space, in the drag space rather, to really become known and visible and increase their fees. One went from $125 a gig to thousands and thousands. So they're in commercials, they're in theater, as you're about to mention, Jarrett. It's really fun. Mikey Meeks was not my contestant. I was for Jane Don't, but Jane Don't won the.
Jane Don't.
Jane Don't is her
I
name.
have to say, I love drag names. I have to say, I also have to
I used to live
confess-
upstairs from Delta Miles.
That's good.
I used to know a designer named Verna Turbulence.
Oh, I knew Verna Turbulence too, actually.
Love Verna.
Yeah.
I have to say, I confess, I'm very late to this party. I am not a regular viewer. I'm certainly aware of RuPaul, whom I adore,
Yes, RuPaul is great.
who brought drag culture into the mainstream and all the values that went with that, from the beauty of transformation to self-love and the warmth of acceptance and humanity, and bringing all that to bear with a class of people who are traditionally ostracized, made fun of, et cetera, et cetera.
And under attack.
Under
in
attack.
these moments.
It's getting worse. It's
As
getting
RuPaul
worse. So
says, you were all born naked, but the rest is drag.
you got it. So I'm all embracing this. I also watched the sing-off last night between Mikey Meeks and
the lip sync.
Nicole.
The lip sync competition,
Yeah,
yes.
see, I don't even have the lingo
Yes.
yet, but the lip sync competition. Nene,
yes,
whatever,
yes,
and
yeah.
Mikey blew her away.
I know. But
Mikey
you should
was
have seen Jane Don't
so
earlier in the season.
good.
I'm just saying.
Well,
Mikey
here's-
was so good from the inside out.
Here's we can tell more of the crossover is that, first of all, you have the big RuPaul movie with all the drag stars coming out this summer.
That's
It's a big summer blockbuster that's coming out. And then last weekend I was in New York and I saw two shows that both had drag as a big part of this.
Wow.
One, the lesser one was Titanic, lesser in only that it was a smaller part. Jim Parsons is in drag playing Rose's mother. It's a very funny show. People can go see it. But I went to see Cats, which is back on Broadway, the confounding, in my words, Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, which I had seen before, never quite understood why. It's really all about cats singing. However, in this new iteration on Broadway, it's called Cats, the Jellicle Ball, and they're setting it in New York's queer ballroom culture, and now it makes sense. When all of the cats are drag queens doing all of the competitions around fashion and voguing and dance, this becomes an incredible show. When I went, the theater was exploding because people are so into this, just as they would have been back in the day in the balls and the competitions and voting and judging. Carson Crossley was there. I know he's on RuPaul all the time.
Yes.
He was there. Here's actors Deva Weska and Jonathan Burke with a new spin on Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser in Cats, the Jellicle Ball, performed in the T Magazine offices earlier this month.
Mungo Jerry and Rumple Teaser, we're a notorious couple of cats. As knockabout clowns, quick change comedians, tightrope walkers, and acrobats. We have an extensive
So just listen to those lyrics there, and even as the co-director said, how did this never occur to anyone that this is the story? It's pretty remarkable, and as I say, the audience was filled, and they were raucous on Broadway.
Well, Jinx Monson has been appearing in Mary on Broadway, and Bob the Drag Queen is starring in Moulin Rouge. Both winners, RuPaul's Drag Race. So I'm telling you,
Can't wait. I'll have to say, transformation, it's the reason I love baking.
What?
You put it in as one thing,
One
and it
big
comes
lump.
out as something else that's thoroughly delicious and delightful.
I was not following this.
I got it from lump to
Hang in
beauty.
there.
Yes.
No, it's the beauty of the artifice,
That's right.
which hides something really true and wonderful. I mean, and that actually reveals it. So I'm on board. I'm going to have to sort of add this to my watch list.
And follow Jane Done's career.
Okay.
Well, next, Elizabeth Smart has spent years in the public eye as a survivor and advocate. You might recall that in 2002, she was abducted at age 14 from her Utah home, held for 9 months and subject to repeated sexual assault. Now she's taking up bodybuilding, opening a new chapter about strength, recovery, and claiming her body for herself. I think this is exceptional what she's doing right now, and it's exceptional what she has been doing as a young woman who survived so much. I think none of us can even have a sense of how you would get through what she got through, and she has done so much with this to stop violence in the future and protect children in the future, and this is the latest iteration of that.
I couldn't agree more. I read this and I was surprised that she felt that this was the fourth contest that she'd been in, and she didn't share the others because she thought she would be criticized. But if ever there was the screaming out loud claiming of my body that somebody else tried to take from me, but I now claim myself. The line in Intisaki Shanghai's play for colored girls who've considered suicide is somebody almost walked away with all my stuff.
Yeah.
And she brought all her stuff back.
You
and
got
I
it.
say, hello, congratulations to you, because I don't know why she's not insane. I really don't.
I completely agree. I am in awe of Elizabeth Smart and always have been, and thought after, having been kidnapped, repeatedly raped, and starved, that this woman would be walking around barely functioning. And instead, she has completely embraced her life and now gone one more step in the physical space, which is so interesting. She has reclaimed her total physical body and power inside and out. And she said
her narrative,
more than her narrative, just her own self, her full self. She said that she was nervous about, or maybe even a little embarrassed to show herself developed in this way. And then that was kind of echoing some of the feelings she had about being identified as a rape victim and what she'd gone through. And she decided to confront that yet again, another layer, and be out there in her full power. I think it's so inspiring.
So she did this on Instagram. That's where she posted pictures of herself, and with a pretty lengthy, really beautiful explanation. And I want to excerpt one little bit. She said, "My body has carried me through every worst day. My body rose to every challenge." Just such a poignant way of thinking about what she's doing and why she's doing it. And, of course, through her foundation, through her book, through the Netflix special where she has, I think, very bravely revisited these horrible moments so that other people can learn from them. And they are learning from them. People learn about safety, and they learn how to the extent you can, not find yourself in that situation. That was not the case for her. She was dragged off by somebody who had worked in her home. But in showing these examples and speaking about what she is talking about in this way, it is inspiring to so many.
She also has mentioned, and it's a theme I think that's been coming up a lot here today, that we are all more than one thing. And she really never wanted to just always be thought of as this rape victim or a victim or the woman that happened to. No, she owns this. She's a mother, she's an activist, she's a bodybuilder, and she's a person who suffered greatly as a human being.
And she wanted to do something just for her that was fun.
Exactly.
If I may, this is going to sound like a non sequitur, but it's not.
No.
Also, her story of being rescued came from that see something, say something. Somebody saw her that day that they brought her into town and just changed her whole life.
Well, this also answers what we were talking about earlier on the show, speaking of callbacks and the toxic fandom, that this is the opposite side of that, that these platforms can be used for terrific good if we're responsible and we actually come together as human beings who want to help one another. Well, now it's time for our weekend preview with a rundown of the arts and culture events we're looking forward to. Callie, what's on your list?
Well, it's the 50th annual Penn Hemingway Award ceremony at the JFK Library. Let me start with it's free on Sunday. The person being honored is Virginia Evans, who is the author of The Correspondent, which has just flown off shelves. It has now just been named one of the 6 books shortlisted for that big women's fiction prize out of Australia. So there is that. And if that's not enough for you, Alice McDermott is delivering the keynote address. She of Charming Billy fame and other great novels and books. So it's a great opportunity to really just immerse yourself in all that's wonderful from the literary perspective and celebrate the 50th ceremony at the JFK Library.
And free, we love free.
Yeah,
Always
we
love to
do
talk
love
about
free.
free and accessibility.
Sunday,
Joyce?
if I didn't say it, Sunday.
And I was thinking, you're such a reader, so that would be what you would choose. And I love the movie, so I'm going to zero in on the Independent Film Festival of Boston. We're in the middle of it now. It ends on April 29th. More than 90 films. The final night is at the Coolidge Corner. Olivia Wilde is going to be there in a movie that she co-stars in and directed. Seth Rogen, Penelope Cruz, Edward Norton, but she will be here in person. But I want to highlight one film that's going to air tomorrow at 4:30 at the Somerville Theater. It's called Your Attention, Please. And it's a documentary about the mother of a young teen who died by suicide after being cyber-bullied. And the film documents the entire movement along with all the mothers whose kids have died, who are fighting for legislation to hold social media companies accountable. These are the women who showed up in Congress, held the photos of their kids up in front of Mark Zuckerberg, who looked like a stunned deer in the headlights with nothing to say. It also focuses on innovators and thinkers who are at the forefront of all of these movements to combat these huge tech companies that are feeding off of our brains for profit in the attention commodity. Our brains are the commodity, dividing us from each other, exaggerating, creating toxic fandom and revolutions in countries, et cetera, et cetera. It is enraging, it is smart, it is inspiring, it will make you want to act. Your attention, please.
That's the Independent Film Festival.
IFFBoston.org.
And I want to point people toward an event happening on Thursday. This actually takes us back to books. We all remember that horrible story earlier this year of the crew of the Lily Jean that who all died in that in the waters off the coast of Gloucester. Well, there is a benefit performance, or really a conversation happening that I will moderate with Sebastian Junger, who of course wrote The Perfect Storm. His last book was called In My Time of Dying, so he will be in conversation with me about these matters, being of the sea, grappling with death. This is a benefit to where all the proceeds will go to the family members of those crew members who died earlier this year. It's called We Are at Our Best When We Find the Worst. It's happening April 30th, Thursday at the Gloucester Stage Company, and I checked with them just yesterday. There are still a few tickets available, so again, it's a great opportunity as well to do a really wonderful thing, but also hear the wonderful Sebastian Junger. Well, thank you for listening to another edition of The Culture Show. Tune in Monday for Evan Wang, the National Youth Poet Laureate, who has just published his first book. And musician and writer Adele Berthet discusses her new memoir about being at the center of New York's no-wave movement in the mid-1970s, being there guided by Patti Smith, getting into a feud with Madonna. We'll talk about it all on the show on Monday. Thanks to the BPL technical and logistics crew, Maddie Geyer, Bill Francis, Sandra Lopez-Burke, Juan Jose Cadena, Hannah Eckhart, and Pat Lally. And thanks to the Lennox Hotel, the Newsfeed Cafe. David Goodman was our engineer, not today, Billy Piazzatelli was, but Dave helps us out a lot all the time. Thank you to everyone who came down here to be with us at the library today. We always love seeing you. I'm Jared Bowen. Have an art-filled weekend.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Where's Mary? Where is she? Where is she? She's just about to close up the library!
Spend your afternoon with us. Stay with us for GBH's All Things Considered at 4.